Hello and welcome to the LCK Challengers Playoffs Day number 2 of Round 1. I am Valdez, with me is Wolf, and we are going to have a great best of 5 today between T1 Challengers and Home Life Esports Challengers.
Yeah.
To see who makes it to Round 2 of the playoffs.
And it's really hype because this is the first round, and if you lose here, you don't have double elimination. So winning this gives you basically an extra life. It pushes you forward into the second round where you will not be eliminated if you lose there. Got a pretty stacked bracket. D plus Kia falling pretty hard at the end of the season, and then barely winning yesterday. I think we are potentially in for, once again, another close series. Both you and I do favor T1 in this series quite substantially. We'll talk a little bit more about why later, but it's Challengers, right? So anything could happen in this best of 5. And I'm excited because I really feel like for so much of what we watched this season, a lot of Challengers is like, prove yourself as an individual player, prove yourself in terms of what you can do, try new strategies. But when it comes to these best of 5s, it's a wider depth you have to show. And it's the first time that, like, if you mess this up, your tournament ends for these teams. So I think they're going to play a lot better. I think the drafts are going to be a lot cleaner.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a lot on the line, and yesterday's match was truly a banger. That was really a lot of fun between DK and Nongshim. Going all the way to 5 games, lots of back and forth games, a lot of challenger action where you play a Varus on hit and it only deals 5,000 damage in a 35-minute game.
We didn't like it. We didn't like it.
We didn't like that. Some of the crazy team fighting. But honestly, you know, especially when there's a lot on the line, but also the players aren't as pristine and polished as the LCK players and teams, that sometimes makes for more fun games. You know, like sometimes I watch other regions and I'm like, oh, this is kind of fun because there's a lot of mistakes being made. And honestly, I think we're going to get more of that today. You know, both T1 and Home Life Esports finishing 4th and 5th here for the regular season. Not the tippy top of like DRX and KT and DK, but absolutely good teams. But still, I think we should expect some fun games again today, Wolf.
No doubt. I think both of these teams also a little bit more standardized in how they play compared to D+, who kind of made the meta a little bit, and Nongshim yesterday, who has Juice, so things always get a little bit weird over there. But as you guys, most of you, probably did watch yesterday, it was a 3-2 for D+. Nongshim almost taking the upset win there, and then HLE versus T1 will happen today. Now, it looks like, if you look at this bracket and you're not familiar and you can't read Korean, you might think that, oh, D+ should be against DRX, right? Why doesn't it say that they're there? DRX will actually have the opportunity to choose between D+ and who wins today because they have that first place spot.
And honestly, I mean, I'm not really sure who you do pick, especially here in Challengers. Like, as DRX, you're on a big upswing. You're feeling very confident. You're probably feeling confident you can beat anyone, but as it is double elimination, you're not going to eliminate someone right off the bat. And also, you're probably just going to choose someone who you think is weaker. But I think you definitely have to watch Home Life versus T1 and decide, okay, is this team who wins this best of 5 stronger than DK, who kind of limped through against Nongshim yesterday?
Yeah, D+ just really, I mean, they had a great start to the season, but in round 2, they looked much weaker, and they looked very weak yesterday. So I think they'll be chosen, but we'll see how this series goes. If this series is very messy, too, anything could happen. As we do have the teams coming out here, Valdez, it's time for the best hair in the league. HLE.
Yeah. We have a competition of League of Legends, but there's one thing that's not a competition, Wolf, and it is that glorious main. Those glorious mains, you could even say, as even Roamer, it continues to grow.
It does. So you can take a look at some of the stats here for HLE in particular. They actually have the highest first blood percentage here. Their Herald takes are the highest as well in LCK Challengers, and the KDA also very high here. So when they win usually very dominantly. And that's not something we could say about all of our Challengers teams, right? KT, even though they were doing very well at the end of the season, they weren't winning as strongly. They were having a bit of a problem in the mid-game sometimes, like their counterpart in the LCK. But also the highest kills per minute in the LCK too, 0.045 per minute is pretty high.
Yeah, and everybody's getting ready for this one. Man, the hair game is just so wonderful. Like, I think Guwon's got the most standard Korean pro gamer haircut, whereas everybody else has kind of got like a special thing going on, you know, the long hair of Rooster and Roamer. Lure's got the cool highlights. Duro's got like the nice little sweep over, kind of like the fashionable Korean guy look. It's looking good.
Now, it's interesting that WDG has chosen the top matchup as the key position here. Well, maybe this is just their key position for HLE, but either way, while Rooster has been very strong in the top lane, his Cassante and his Gnar being his best picks, I actually kind of like his Renekton the most myself personally in terms of individual performance. But they also have Lure in the bottom lane, who is an insanely good player, and I think that's the matchup I'm most curious about today is how does Lure perform against Smash, because he is definitely T1's ace that they have up their sleeve here for this best of 5.
Yeah.
But his hair is the best, so I mean.
Yeah, I mean, he's got that going on for sure. You and I did go for T1, and I think the big reason is because we expect T1's team fighting to be a little bit better as the games come along. And a lot of these games, as we saw yesterday, do come down to the crazy team fights and who's going to eke it out just barely. As we are going to also take a look at Duro, the support here of Hanwha Life Esports.
Yeah, no, Duro played a lot of Blitzcrank here at the end, and he's very similar to Lehens in that way, likes to play the Blitzcrank, likes to get a lot of advantages there. But I'd argue that he was most known for his Varus Heimerdinger lanes when Lure was playing the Varus early on in the season. You see that's actually his best win rate in terms of champions with 5 games or more played. He's 4-1 on it, so he's a very critical part of this team and has picked up quite a few POGs in terms of support as well. So definitely one to look out for here as we go into this one, because if he can actually make the plays for Lure and lane and keep Smash on the back foot in this series, Smash can't carry. That's definitely an angle here for HLE.
Yeah, as YouTube chat's already getting into it, asking, you know, they're getting really hyped for Faker and Zeus today. Guys, this is Challengers League, and those players are not on the T1 Challengers roster, who, by the way, are just now stepping out onto the stage.
Yep, this is the T1 Challengers team, and they had the T1 Challengers team was once the best Challengers team in LCK Challengers, and then they fell down to the bottom essentially. They've got a new roster here, and they have been basically middle of the pack all season long. There was a time where we were like, oh, maybe this team is top 3. They have fallen quite significantly. Those, unlike their counterparts in the LCK, they're not that dominant early. They're 6th in terms of kills per game here. You see that the first turret percentage for them, they're also only doing that about half of the time. And Dragon percentage here is quite high for them. Herald percentage is quite nice, but it's really about, I think the Dragon percentage you see there is because their mid to late game team fights are where they excel. It's not like the T1 and the LCK where they get ahead in lanes early, get like 1 kill and turn that into a 4,000 gold lead. That is not the type of team that T1 are. They're more similar to Hanwha Life Esports in that they are strongest when they get to the later parts. Not Hanwha Life Challengers, of course, but Hanwha Life and LCK.
No, we're not only reading YouTube chat. Don't worry, Zelrix. We will be reading both chats as these games are coming along. But the series is also very hyped, so want to do it some justice. As Dahl up in the top side here for T1. Definitely the other player, you know, when I think of T1 Challengers, I immediately think of Smash, but I also immediately think of Dahl just right behind him.
I feel like Dahl's macro decisions have been really good. His side laning is very strong. His Renekton obviously a standout pick, so I think that both of these teams are going to be quite reliant on that pick in the draft, especially if the Cassante is removed, because they both also enjoy playing that. I mean, who doesn't right now? He's so incredibly strong. So definitely one to look out for. And, you know, it's a team that is reliant on pulling attention away from the bottom lane so that Smash could just farm and get to the late game. So he's a critical part of this team as a result.
Photon is from T1, yes. A lot of players that have gone abroad are from T1 Challengers and other Challengers teams. As we are going to be focusing on Bout, actually, who also has been a key component of the bottom lane here for T1. Always right there to help out Smash, get through the lane, and, of course, carry later on.
When Smash is playing Caitlyn, his Lux has been so good. That's either the pick that's listed here at the top. But in particular, for me, his Nautilus has been the biggest standout. I've really enjoyed watching him on it. The Nami, the Ashe, you know, these are picks that are very meta, very standard, but I feel like the 2 standout ones for me are the Lux and the Nautilus for sure. So, we could definitely see lanes where he's playing Nautilus Varus, even if it's a draft that makes sense for on-hit Varus, you know, please. Then, you know, that's the kind of thing that I'd be looking for.
After yesterday, we're both a bit scarred. I think we're all a bit scarred after watching that one, but what can you say? as we are going to have an interview with the coaches. So we are not going to get that. We're going to get a little bit of extra on-camera time with the chat. So how are you guys doing? I see Atlas has joined us. No sign of Chronicler or Ox yet. So Atlas wins first prize.
Kevin Kim also in the
for
chat.
First caster to talk in the chat.
Yeah, true.
Very important.
Don't know what's going on with the rest of our team, but Atlas clearly has more passion than they do.
Yeah,
so.
absolutely. He wins the passion
He was here
award.
yesterday. He's here today, you know?
Where is OMG match? I think you want the LPL. That is not this stream. You can probably find that on Twitch somewhere else.
But I think also you don't, like, you want the LPL, but you want the LPL VOD. You want to stick around right here. Because this is where it's really going to happen. Yeah.
So, yeah, absolutely.
And I see Slew on you in the chat. Big fan. Yundo in the chat. Hot Wheels 40.
Is that also Yundo? How was the weather? The weather today was fantastic.
Yeah, the air quality is much better today than it was yesterday. Much warmer today too.
Yeah.
I was driving
really
to work
warm.
and I got to a red light and I like turned my bike off and opened my seat, put my gloves away. I was like, I'm going barehanded today.
Whoa, barehanded.
I don't recommend it because it's like, you know, gloves are going to keep your hands safer if you get in an accident. I'm just saying etiquette-wise, but I wanted to feel the wind on my fingers, you know, so I put the gloves away.
All right, so Mitsuhugi has asked this maybe 2 or 3 times. This is the T1 Challengers team, so this is not the main roster. If you're looking to watch T1, you will have to wait until this weekend, where they will be playing in the round 2 first match on Saturday. So that's not today.
No, but that will be, yeah, will be happening this week in LCK playoffs. So both playoffs are kind of happening alongside each other, like almost like they're companions of each other, almost like this is the support league for the LCK. Yeah. Wolf on a scooter is really funny sight to me. Wait, did you see me? Was it a funny sight?
Yeah. My cat's breath smells like cat food. What should I do? I'd say keep doing what you're doing. That's pretty normal, actually.
Yeah.
How annoying is Yumi now? Well, she's not available to be played, so that annoying.
Very annoying, though, in general.
Yeah. Nowadays, in solo queue on the Korean ladder, I actually experienced this last night. You just pick Zeri and Yumi, and generally you'll just win the game.
Pretty much. Pretty
Didn't
safe
happen
bet.
in my game, but happens a lot. So it's very strong. It's very strong right now.
It is very strong. I feel like it's, in some ways, a huge buff to Yumi. It doesn't impact the rest of the map as much because you have to kind of stick with your best friend to get the most value out of it. But generally, your best friend is going to be the AD carry that you're attached to doing the most with. And her new ult is like really good for team fights. It's not as good in the early skirmishes as it used to be, but you know, you don't get as much value out of the Yumi pick when you have like a Talon jungle that you used to, where you're like, all right, I'm just going to go roam and get on the jungle and do
Remember
some cool
that one
stuff.
game with Dread and what was it, Peter?
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, they were just roaming together. Good times back when Nongshim like won one of their only games in that season.
Yeah.
Atlas asks, where's Clid? Atlas, you can find him on Thursday, where he will be playing in the second match of playoffs for LCK.
Yeah.
Against DK.
Or sort by highest deaths on the stats of the jungle players in the LCK. I'm just.
Why do you have to do him like
I'm
that?
being mean. I'm the Clidemption guy, but there have been some
Maybe
moments.
some Clidemption this week.
Could
you
be.
know?
Could be.
Big moments, right? Where is Prince? He went to NA.
Actually, good question though. Alice asked, could Guwon play in the LCK playoffs? Only Live Sandbox actually registered their challengers players as eligible to play. No one else did. So
Guti hype.
Guti could play, and like we were going to talk about this a little bit before, you know, during this coaching interview because we're going to go into serious and talk about that. But no joke, like Guti could play if it's a control mage meta where, I mean, it is a control mage meta, and we're seeing a lot more Talia and stuff like this. Like, it's not really the meta for closer. Yeah, if he wants to play Veigar, or Live Sandbox want to play Veigar, maybe put Guti in. Is Azir not his best, but look, Azir's
gone now.
So, yeah, it's fine.
We're safe now. When are we just going to get Corki again? Like, why is it only Talia and Veigar? Like, Corki has a much bigger range. Like, I don't understand all these teams that are like, the enemy picked Caitlyn and Lux and Jace. I'm going to play Veigar. Like, doesn't make any sense. Just play Corki. You can match the poke, right? Like,
I think it's coming. I think we'll probably see some in the playoffs for sure. Maybe not in the Challengers playoffs, but in the LCK
hasn't been
playoffs.
touched in a while, and he got played like a couple of times earlier this season against Azir. Even Chovy played it.
Yeah, Chovy, Faker, these players, you know, I think they might do it. All right, this is the graphic I really wanted to see more than anything else. Just notice, like, T1 at weeks 1 and 2, we were like, okay, this team is competing with D+, and we were like, these are the best 2 teams. And then there was a huge plummet for T1 as other teams improved. That's when we saw teams like HLE, KT Rolster, and then DRX start to come back in. So T1 kind of stayed in the middle the entire time. We weren't able to get stable results. So why did we predict this team that had such a big drop-off while HLE was, you know, basically stronger all season long? The reason is because we think their fundamentals are better, we think their team fighting is better, and in Challengers, that's often what it comes down to. In a meta like the one we're living in right now, where you do kind of scale up and winning early, like HLE has won most of their games off of, you could see the first blood rate for them much higher, right? Yeah. I think that is less relevant in this meta than it has been in metas past. I think it's still really important in the LCK, but we're not as snowbally as we once were.
Yeah, and we did also see in the regular season that Life was able to take out T1 twice, 1-2 and 0-2, so their record has been pretty good so far. And I think you could say that maybe their style could match up well to T1, but I think in this best of 5, I have trust in T1 as a unit and as an organization almost to like really hunker down here for playoffs and give it a really good shot. I actually predicted 3-0 for T1, which I don't want to call it a mean prediction, but it's almost like you know how Atlas has his waters predictions, he feels it in his waters. Like that was for me. I'm like, this doesn't really make any sense on paper, but I'm just gonna say it because I think it's gonna happen randomly. So yeah, Goofy Golfer, this is Challengers. I know we got a lot of new viewers for playoffs, but this is Challengers, not the main LCK.
Yeah, just gotta make sure people know. That's what the CL stands for. Okay, this is what I was most curious about, the Preds. So, on the global side, Atlas is the only one who predicted HLE, and I think it's a reasonable prediction. But on the Korean side, it's a little bit more split. And notice that all of the predictions are pretty close on the Korean side. Like, 3-1 is as one-sided as it gets, but everyone else is doing 3-2, which means I think there's a lack of confidence that this series will be one-sided. If HLE wins, though, I think HLE wins 3-0. Like, I think if they win game 1, they get the momentum going. They're a momentum-based team. They feel good. They draft well. They play well. I think if they win game 1, it's like, okay, maybe we'll see how it goes. Then they win game 2. I'm like, okay, they're going to win 3-0. You know, that's the kind of feel I get. But if T1 wins even the first game, I think it's going to be super one-sided.
Yeah, also, I think that predictions for Challengers are very difficult. I noticed that I'm the only person that went 3-0 for either team because 3-0s just don't happen in Challengers, right? Like, it's not a thing. Like, T1 will make a mistake. Even if they're winning like 2-0, they might make a mistake in game 3 that gives a win over to Life Esports, and the same could be said for Hamla.
And Atlas makes a good point that Forest has looked like a weak link for T1. Guwon has been one of the stronger points for HLE, even though he wasn't listed as the key player. And I do think that that is an angle of attack here, too, for the early game, because I completely agree. I think Guwon is way better than Forest, and he's making way larger impact around the map early, which is why HLE have had so many snowbally games. So if they can shut Smash out, if they can get massive advantages, that's the way to do it. And they will have blue side here for game 1.
We had some drafts yesterday, some drafts of all time.
We certainly did.
I'm hoping that today it gets a little bit cleaner. I would expect these two teams, funnily enough, to have better preparation, especially based on what we've seen from DK at the end of the season. So let's see what they have in mind here, as Varus is just not even going to be played. So
Veigar also completely removed here early on. And I like that because I'm kind of sick of Veigar at this point in time, but
yeah, I just don't know if it really is worth banning that on red side.
Yeah, I don't think so.
It feels like the casters as a whole don't really see as much power in Veigar as the teams do.
Yeah. Blitzcrank also taken away from Duro here.
Wow.
This might just be a first pick Caitlyn angle, though, considering how good Smash is at it and how many different lanes are still available to play it. As it's dropped in priority quite a bit, but it is good into Ashe as well. Looks like they want to prefer the Ashe, though, themselves.
Kate Lux?
Kate Lux seems like the best answer. We have seen Jinx as a response to this, but I don't think we'll see that in Challengers.
Okay.
Okay, Draven is fine. The Scion Prio is a bit high.
What are we doing here?
Really interesting. It's going to be...
Where am I? Okay, wait.
Ashe
Am I dreaming?
Which I do like a lot, into the Draven. We don't know what the support's going to be for the Draven, but the Heimerdinger should be able to make it difficult for Draven to get those early autos with his early base attack damage to find success against this Ashe.
Caitlyn support.
Could be. Could be Kalista support as well.
Yeah, I kind of like that too. I mean, you'll struggle against the range, but maybe you just all in. As Cassante is going to be the choice. Both these top laners loving Cassante. Didn't get banned, so seems like a nice little choice.
Oh, they are going to do the Kalista support. Okay, this is what I like to see. And T1 coming really prepared for this. And
first time for Bout.
Yeah, he hasn't played it yet. And we know that there's a lot of influence, obviously, from Keria in this team because it is the parent team. And so this is a great response here. They intentionally leave the Ashe open and then have a counter response. And with Ashe 80 carry, too, you're going to have problems into Scion. You know, he's going to be a big front line. You don't do that much damage compared to other, you know, really strong crit 80 carries. We'll see what build Lure goes for here, but I like this draft a lot for T1 right now.
Yeah, Atlas does say Kalista into Ashe Monkahun. I would say in general that could be the case, but yeah, just all in 100% of the time, and maybe it doesn't matter. So we'll see how that lane goes. If they do get behind, could be a little bit of a problem. As Syndra also going to be the ban here against Roamer, so going to deny that pick as well. Syndra, a lot higher presence in Challengers than we do see it in LCK. A lot of our mid laners do love that pick.
It's his most played pick as well in the mid lane, so just taking away some comfort here. So we'll see probably another jungle ban here. Okay, take it back. It's going to be the Rise, which is also Bay's most played mid lane champion. So just some comfort removed from these mid laners. This is Maokai for some magic damage coming through here as the jungle pick. And I think we probably will see an AP variant here, considering they already have the Scion front line. And I think it's actually good.
Could also be the tank variant that we have been seeing from Gen.G, you know, where Peanuts is playing full tank Maokai. They get like 2 or 3 tanks on the team. Generally, they play that with a hyper carry, though. And Draven is like, kind of?
He can be.
He's like a tempo snowball-y type?
Yeah.
Not. I mean, we'll see.
Oh, the Rumble. The Rumble. Please
the Rumble hover.
The Rumble hover. The Rumble, I mean, everyone's been talking about this pick in the top lane. It's so incredibly strong right now and can burn through the health bars of this tank line here for T1.
They already have Cassante, though, so...
I thought maybe they were going to flex it mid, though.
The Chovy.
Yeah.
Not going to be the case. Talia will be locked in, giving counterpick to T1, and they don't have the Veigar to pick.
Right, now we're just...
Oh!
Okay, we're just locking it in.
It's locked!
Okay, so...
And look at how much CC is on the side of T1. I actually really like this.
This could be multiple different things. I was probably going to the mid lane.
Yeah.
But with Maokai here, you could play Maokai top and like play Scion mid and play Jungle Rumble. I think that's pretty weak right now, but... let's wait and see what these swaps do come through as. Man, T1 came so prepared here. They're absolutely ready to play against this Ashe in the bottom lane. They have a Rumble pick prepared for Bay. And they have such a good front line here. And now that we have the Rumble for all that extra AP damage, I think it will be the tank variant here for Maokai. And we'll just see front line into burst damage here between the Rumble and the Draven later on. And for HLE, you really have to get ahead with these picks with this Ashe composition. So you need to set up Arrow into Grenade, into a Seismic Shove, into Wukong Engage, because you're never going to win front-to-back team fights here if T1 go even or ahead in the early to mid.
You know, generally we see, you know, some weird picks in best of 5s, but generally it comes out in like game 3 and 4.
Yeah.
Right? Not game 1, where Bay's like, you know what? Mid-Rumble, let's cook. And it's very weird. I'm not even sure how this is going to do into the Talia. You'd have to imagine that Talia will just have range advantage and they'll just ignore each other and you just pick the Rumble for team fights. But
Rumble has a lot of damage with the Maokai gank. Like if Maokai sets up the root and Talia's overextended, like
very CC reliant.
Yeah, he absolutely needs the CC and Maokai can provide it to him. So if he can hit a big Q and then turn into an overheat and actually blow the Talia up in lane or force a flash, for example, he can get a little bit more control. But I think Roamer is the better mid laner, and he will have prio, so a lot of that is reliant on the jungle to come over and assist. And it is Forest, so we're not always super confident on his ability to alter the early mid. He has been one of the weaker jungles in that regard.
All right, here we go, Wolf. It is time for game 1.
I always do 3. Why do I always do 3?
The timing was perfect.
3. I'm trying to get better at the timing,
okay.
and I messed it up.
The timing was perfect. It's okay. I really liked the baritone Ox one yesterday. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, Ox is just, he's doing it his own way. He doesn't have to follow the traditional rules and conventions. I love that about him.
Yeah. As a nice little level 1 here from T1. I mean, they have Sion and Callista, Maokai. I think this is a nice little idea. You can get vertical jungling going if you do have Forest stay in here and actually take this red buff.
Looks like that's what they're going to try to do. See that Guan has already gone over to Raptors on top side here. And Dahl just going to hold down the fort. Clearing that ward up. Gold advantage. Just our Raptors with Dahl's Q. Now this is going to allow Rooster to get a lot of topside control. Dahl will have to teleport to catch the wave. So he is going to lose teleport advantage here into the Cassante, but it's a matchup where Cassante can't get too much of an advantage early, so it won't matter too much. Yeah. He's going to need to go there like now, or he's going to lose plate gold here.
Yeah, this is something we have seen before where Sion just hangs around and just leashes for the jungle, can get your jungle very far ahead. Note that Forest is going to be going the AP variant, it looks like, with First Strike and the red pet Scorch Claw here. And we might even be diving bot lane at level 1, Wolf.
Oh my god, this is actually insanity. And you have Cryo at level 1 with the Callista Draven.
What has gotten into these
This
guys?
is such a sick strat. They're actually setting it up. See if the Q hits.
Where am I? Am I dreaming?
TP?
P is coming in. Bout is already very low as the dive is messy, but it might get the job done. Flash comes in, smash, gets the early kill and a double kill as well. As now Bout is on the run, but the knock up from Forest denies it, and a third kill will go to T1. This one goes to Bout. As you wanted a snowball, T1, you got one.
Yeah, well, this is the this game is over angle here.
And he just TP top?
Yeah, TP top, because he didn't actually commit to, if Rooster commits topside here to actually getting more plate gold, this feels even worse for the Sion at least. So he lost a lot of CS, lost a lot of experience. But he's going to be able to set this up. So Sion can dive extremely well here with Callista because he has so much health, so he can just tank. And then when he dies, he will be able to do additional damage here. So Forest flashes away. Dahl maintains this turret aggro here. Bout gets away, and then they chase him because Rooster committed TP here. So he's like, I got to make this happen. Flashes.
Get wrecked.
And yeah, get completely wrecked. And he had vision there with the rush as well. Bout just sidesteps him, and then now you're not even ahead in CS that much. Yeah. Are we really going to do him dirty now?
And Rooster TP bot, so
yeah, he lost his TP.
There's your TP advantage lost, right? This is a strat that has happened before. Even some guys in the chat pointing out that BDS have even done it this season. So T1 came prepared, and that's really, really awesome to see. And this is kind of why, this is what I said before the game's even started. Like, as an org and as a 5, I kind of expect these guys to come in with the better best of 5 preparation. And I mean, it was only the first play, but still a very good start here for T1.
Yeah, certainly. And this is a T1 team that's had multiple different coaches, you know, across the years in the Challengers team, you know, from Roach to Gen.G, who was a huge part of this. They've even had Sella at times, if you guys remember that guy from StarCraft. He was part of the org for a little while.
That guy.
Well, like, there's he was that guy, man. And making meow sounds with his probes and stuff on stream.
Of course.
Good old Sella. But I think the Sella-Wera. Usually don't say the Wera part these days, but you know.
Yep. True.
Bit of a controversial name, but still
the original.
The original name, yes. But yeah, like what I'm getting at here is I think you're right. There's a lot of depth of coaching here. T1 has a lot of different eyes on this team, and even though they're preparing for the LCK playoffs right now, they have an additional amount of days since they did get first place in the regular season to maybe even give some resources for even some inspiration to the coaching staff here for this game. And Rooster is still going to have an advantage up here. And his experience advantage really allowing him to push this lane in, and Dahl is 20 CS behind, but what he did for his Draven Kalista lane is well worth it.
It's massive. It's a great choice because Sion is one of those top laners that is fantastic at diving and is actually really good at leashing for the jungle too. So it just, on all fronts, if you're going to pick, and first pick, by the way, the Sion, this is why you would have to do it. And so they're even going to get this first Drake with the prio from the bottom side. Very nice start for them. 1,000 gold in the lead. One got bullied out of the bottom river as well.
Bay already has his sword shoes ready to go. He went for heal actually in this lane, which is going to give him some more aggressive playmaking potential. Okay, speaking of.
Oh man, Guwon is just dead. He's just going to be burned down. Yeah, here comes the level 6 Rumble gank to the top side as Bay already getting it started early. Rooster can't all out over the wall, and that's a double kill now for Sorg Boots Rumble.
Okay, well. I mean, when you have Sork shoes, you're actually going to be able to do a lot of damage to early Wukong, obviously, and he had the burst damage there. He has his ultimate. The level 6 timing comes up, and you're trying to, as HLE, you're like, I have to force my Cassante advantage. I have to play around topside now because bot is totally done. It's totally annihilated. There's no hope. So Bay's coming up here topside. Guwon's trying to shadow for Rooster to get some more plate gold here. The angle here on the equalizer is perfect. Guwon is just burned down. And it's basically Bay doing this essentially all by himself, as Rooster is just unable to all out. Unfortunately, just a little bit misplayed there. I think if he gets him through the wall, he might have a better chance of surviving. By the way, it's 2 kills now to the Rumble, 2 kills to the Draven. And who cares? Sion is a low resource champ. He's 20 CS behind still, but he's just been a pressure point now on both sides of the map in the first 7 minutes.
Yeah, it's been really nice to see. And with some of that extra assist gold, this AP Maokai as well, gonna have that quick demonic embrace, looks like, is going to be the choice here. So, a pretty nice start. Now, Roamer is farming very well in the mid lane. He does actually have a small CS lead with the roam that did come out from Bay, funnily enough, with the names being what they are. As here comes Forest, he is going to be spotted as Flash in, going to force the Flash away from Lure, who now is flashless on the kind of immobile Ashe.
Forrest has ult, so he's looking for an opportunity here to set up for a fast cash-in here, again, for the Draven. They've stacked up some more of those Adoration stacks here early, and is just looking to further snowball and going to force them out of lane, force them to be zoned away from the turret. Because look at all the commitment here. And once again, Dahl, he's just holding down the fort top side. Bay having a good start here in this game too. Doesn't matter how far behind he was in CS, he's going to catch up. It's like, yeah, you can shove me, I don't care at all, even slightly.
Yeah, that's one thing that Rumble mid does really well, is he shoves waves like a beast. Especially if you get an early lead, it's like, okay, who am I playing against? Is it Yone? Is it Talia? Is it Teemo? I don't care, because I'm going to press Q, and the wave's going to be gone.
Yep, doesn't matter.
And then I will roam. And that's exactly what he's been doing.
And his ultimates in team fights later on are going to be so valuable, especially into the Cassante. You know, even though there's a lot of magic damage here for T1 in this composition, only Cassante can really itemize well against it. Eventually, Guwon will be able to get a Hex Drinker and end up going for that Maw Malmortius, but it's going to take a long time, and it's not going to really help him that much through that burn damage of the Equalizer anyways. So you can see the gold difference here, only 500 ahead for Rooster. That's just not good enough. This doesn't matter against this Sion, as Sion behind still functions as a Sion.
Yeah, the carry Cassante angle, we have seen some players do it. That's generally when their team was kind of on even footing and they had a good laning phase. I don't know if we're going to have that here, as Bay is going to get hit by an arrow. Nice setup here from Lure, as now the follow-up comes in from the rest of the team, and Bay's not even going to elect a flash. He's like, I'm dead. Nothing I can do about it. I will see you later.
And these are the angles we were talking about in the early game that you can hit as HLE, where you arrow into shove and you set up the play, even committing the Cyclone to this, so heavy commitment in terms of resources here, but there's no objective that T1 is looking to contest here with ult advantage or anything like that. Bay doesn't flash. It's going to be a plate going over to Roamer. And some CS is lost here for Bay, so this is actually a significant play. If he flashes the arrow, you know, it's all for nothing, and none of this happens, but the angle was good, and he didn't see it until it was too late, since it was coming from the jungle where he didn't have any vision. So really nicely played. Look at the angle here that is taken. Look at Ashe Lure down here this far. So there's no vision, as you can see in the jungle, for the arrow. So he would have had to react basically instantly here while he's already in the middle of Q. You see how quickly he reacts to step back anyways. Doesn't matter. If he sees it, he can flash it. If he can't see it, really good angle.
Gonna hold on to that flash. He did go Sork Boots, so no mercs in this game. And there is a hefty amount of CC on HLE Esports on both teams. I mean, that is the meta nowadays. So just going to be doing that extra damage as tons going into lure as, okay, ult in, but guess what? Better. He's going to try to get the angle here. Ooh, so close.
Very close. Guwon's coming down here, but Force should be able to shut him out. Guwon also doesn't have ult, so... You know, ends up being a pretty big win here for HLE, though. All of the commitment of that really long Fates call right before Dragon. And obviously Smash taking a ton of damage, not securing the kill. They will have to back. So it looks like it's actually not going to be their Drake here. I thought maybe he'd stick around and try to contest here with this Heimerdinger and with Guwon's ult coming back up, but they decide not to. Meanwhile, on the top side, Rooster is just trying to get all the gold he can. He does have his Jack shows done now, but he's not going to be relevant for a while.
Ooh, there it is again. Chemtech, so any Jeff enjoyers? Any Ox fans?
Where is, could somebody type @OxCasts and see if he's in the chat?
Because he is responsible for this.
He hasn't said anything, but I think we all know.
He's trying to hide, but you can't hide forever.
Did it autocomplete, guys? He's here, right? I
He's
knew it.
here!
I knew it. Oh, he isn't here.
Can this Ashe build do damage to Sion? Absolutely not. No.
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 So, yeah,
Zero.
we were talking about how people don't really build crit Ashe. I mean, we have seen it, and we have wanted it, and Chronicler's been ranting about this for a while, but it's generally not the build. We do see the Ravenous Hydra instead, and that's what we're going to see here again.
Speaking of Chronicler rants, what do you think about the return of AP Maokai with Rumble mid?
I liked it until we saw the Rumble mid. I don't like it as much here, but I think it's still really good. Like, I think both sides of the Maokai are really strong. Let's look at how much poke damage they have.
Oh, Jesus. What is happening? They're not even playing the game. They're just standing there dying.
I mean, this is the way.
Are you kidding me?
Like, this is how you can siege turrets with Maokai, and you just ult in their general direction. You do so much damage. You just toss saplings in. They just press R on everybody. Like, the Equalizer comes through, and the Draven ultimate comes through, the Whirling Death, and then your turret is under siege. You can't be near it. You have to back, and that means they have more control bottom side with this Draven, who's going to get additional plate gold here. We still have a minute left of plates.
Yeah.
Like, the way that this draft has been put together here for T1 and the execution of it thus far has been fantastic.
Yeah. Just wait until, 10 more minutes even, and you get like a couple items here for Smash. Those people will die. You might even get double kills in that case if you can line it up like he did in that one. And on the other side, it's really easy for Forest and Bay to press their R buttons. They don't even really need to aim it. I mean, Bay does,
First
but
turret
it's pretty
should
wide.
Go to HLE here. I think Rooster actually outpaces. He has demolished. They're going to TP to block. I don't know about this.
Okay, I mean, he will get here.
But he can't stop the first turret from going down, so...
Maybe so.
Nope.
It was like actually closer than it looks like, as Rooster is going all out, and yeah, Doll's just gonna charge the other way. Actually, a very nice idea, except for the fact that Roamer is making his way up to the top side. Now, I don't think that Roamer, he does have the Andres actually. It looks like Doll will be going down here, as eventually he does go down. Even an arrow passes by, as Doll getting a bit of damage in onto Roamer, but just running against the walls, and he will survive.
It's like Prowler claws him. I'm like, Baus is not here right now, right? Like, yeah, so that's going to be the end of this turret. So it still will be one turret for one turret. Just obviously the first turret going over, and that kill onto Doll. Almost 2,000 gold ahead on his own, but the relevance of that gold versus the relevance of this Draven gold, I definitely know which side I favor. Now, that being said, Rumble has fallen behind too. And this is going to be an angle for Roamer to try to turn this game around with more picks here with this Ashe, who's a little bit more utility in this. My problem with this Ashe build is not that it's not good at doing what Ashe normally wants to do as a utility pick, because I may have to hold my thoughts on this.
I think a couple of our buttons are nearing being pressed here, as they're trying to kill Sion. They do have this Leandri's Talia, and it's going pretty well, as Dahl will flash and then die, as a couple of our buttons are pressed here by T1, but a little bit too little too late.
And I think T1 need to be, like, they can't win if they don't get that combo at this stage of the game, so they need to be a little bit more careful about their setups here because, yeah, Sion is very tanky, but he's not that tanky yet this game and can't just walk forward like that. If HLE pick him, it's still a win, because now you have really good long-term damage, no Rumble ultimate in this fight.
Yeah, they're still going to try to fight this 4v5.
Not sure about this.
They can kind of poke. They do have, you know, the poke we have seen, but now that both ultimates are down, it has severely gone down a lot here. As now they're gonna arrow through mid and a wall comes up. A smash has to be Fate's call. Better Tom Kench, I will say it every single time.
Longer cooldown, Valdez, though.
Longer cooldown, but
feels
longer
bad.
devour.
Yeah, longer range. Yeah. Look, I think Kalista is in a better place than Tom Kench in this meta right now, and I will agree with you in terms of the ability is Dahl.
They're just going to kill Dahl again, but it might just be a trade as a massive cash-in comes in now for
Maybe
Smash,
more.
as if he needed more gold. And this time, Dahl actually baits them as he loses his life for a 4th time.
Man, T1, they are not playing this perfectly, but they know exactly what their win conditions are, and they are going to try to force them. And you know, this is a Drake setup here now. It's sole point here. And HLE, you're just walking in with no vision.
Yeah, just going to press the Nature's Grasp. Nicely blocked by the clone, actually. As, yeah, they're not going to be able to force this Drake. We do have Rift Herald being placed down in mid lane.
Yeah, they're going to just toss this Herald in and should be able to get the charge off, but they have to be so careful about committing to this Drake now. TP does come through from Roamer, and they have the choke point controlled. And it is Chemtech Soul, and it's, you know, one solo Chemtech for HLE, so they are going to just back away T1. I was going to say, if you try to force into this with the Talia, you're going to have big problems. I think just be happy to say, okay, Talia TP, we'll take that. There's a standing goal on the top side of the map where a Smash is heading in that turret there, and that's where you're kind of trying to look and accelerate. Is Dahl baits them here super hard.
Better top wins.
Better top wins. Bout Bay, everybody is lined up here in this choke point. They're like, yep, we're going in. Smash is like, cool, just ult this. And then Roamer's like in stopwatch, like, oh, he's so dead. So 2 kills going over. And, I mean, look at the gold here. Oh man, he has so much money. 1,100 total from the cash-ins.
Yeah, he's got
boy.
2 items. He has a Bloodthirster now. So against Ravenous Hydra Ashe, I think I know who I will favor.
Yeah.
The 3,400 gold difference.
He got all the plates bottom, got the whole turret, got the mid turret, got those additional kills.
Even
plus
the
cash
Callista's
gold.
massively ahead.
Yeah. And what I was going to say about the Ashe before that Rift Herald fight is that I like this build normally because it gives you a little bit more wave clear, a little bit safer. You can farm more quickly and more freely in the mid lane, and you're going to be doing some damage in team fights, but you're really just trying to set up for Seismic Shove and Wukong engages, right? That's your job in this game. But you still have to break through a Sion at some point. And that's Roamer's job now with this Leandri's build, but if the engages don't go well for HLE, then you're basically not going to be able to win the team fight. It's going to be so incredibly hard, and Roamer's going to have to do all the heavy lifting, so I like the Ashe. I don't like the build as much here because of that Sion.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have to play it 80 carry. You had a choice.
True.
But they made the other choice, which was also a choice. And, you know, it'll be interesting to see if Rooster can get something going. He is going to all out onto Dahl here. Lots of damage already going out. Ult's going to be used as Roamer is just gone again as another cash-in and an execute comes in. 4-0 now for Smash. As the CC lineup for the Draven is too strong.
And with this AP Maokai, like, you just have that additional damage from so far away. They're just turning this into a pick comp. And it can fight front to back later on, too.
What's going on here? Wait, how did he even get in this spot? Yeah, he's just going to get flashed and died. He does Cyclone and flash away from the multiple barrages of missiles that do come out. That should be another turret here for T1 as well.
Yeah, Guwon is dead, turret is down, Duro's ult is down. And watch how quickly this is set up. So Forrest has his ult. Press R.
Press R.
And then press R one more time. Ready?
And then the other guy presses R2.
Yeah, there it is. And then one more R.
Yeah.
R.
And Ashe pressed R2, but Yeah.
Yeah. Blast cone to get out too, and then they're like, wait a minute, Guwon's coming up here to try to hold this turret.
Yeah, like what is the idea here?
I think he just really wants to make sure they could save this turret, but it's just not realistic.
Yeah.
And he knew that they blast coned out, so I guess that's the idea, is like, well, I can hold this against Rumble alone. But they just are like, he's still here, and then they come back over, so doesn't end up being the right call. Really unfortunate here.
Yeah, I think Guwon's been having a rough game after the early game. Just forced a vertical jungle on the top side of the map, and he's like, but there's not even a Scion. And then he like tries to gank the Scion and dies to the level 6 Bay roam, and then from there he's just kind of been sitting there like, well, what do I do? I'm behind, I have Divine Sunderer. Bout's gonna flash this arrow, which is some nice value, but the bottom lane difference is almost 6,000 gold in total, Wolf.
It's basically the entirety of the gold lead. And that 2,000 gold lead against the Scion means very little if you can't front to back. So Rooster is going to have to be the carry, or sorry, Roamer is going to have to be the carriers. They're starting Baron up here, very T1S.
Their pressing R to win strategy is fantastic. It's pretty on Baron.
Yeah,
right?
It's pretty good. So let's see where the engage angle is. Here comes Roamer.
Roamer's gonna throw out a wall. It's actually pretty nice to start with a poke. Not, oh god, the knock up here on a Guwon, as that is a pretty massive equalizer, but the R is not layered here from T1. A bit messy, but they will pick up the Baron as Rooster's getting really low. Dahl gets very much in the face, trying to take out Lure, as he doesn't quite take damage, but eventually will go down to Duro as Bay behind enemy lines is taking out multiple members, but Rooster's so fed that he will take him out. And
look at Roamer's damage.
They get the Baron, but it wasn't the cleanest fight we've ever seen.
No, it was not. Roamer actually avoided all of the engages and did tons of damage with his Leandries, and that's how this fight has to go if HLE is ever going to win it. But the problem was that Bay could basically kill the entire backline on the other side while he was doing that, and Bay is like 1v3ing with his Night Harvester build, and like there's two fights that happen here. So Bay is on the left side through this choke point where Rumble is going to have a lot of fun. And then when the engage comes through here from Roamer, notice he just tries to cut them off and then do some poke damage on the Dahl. And that he's going to do. The block here is actually massive for Guwon as well on the Maokai ultimate. So Roamer actually still has mobility here, and he's just trying to Q, do some additional damage, Now, Bay fights on the left side here, Guwon and Rooster. I actually thought Duro was over there. It's 1v2. And then on the right side, like, Roamer lives. He's doing so much damage. He's got the Ashe to peel back. Because, yeah, Bay does get taken out here. But the way that this fight has to go now is Ashe slows with W's, and Roamer's like, I'm alive, I'm queuing, I'm still hitting them. It's like, in a weird way, Roamer is actually the AD carry, like, functionally in this draft.
They don't have one.
Yeah. So, like, it almost worked for them because Roamer's positioning was so good, but it didn't matter in the end.
I remember the old days where, you know, when Aphelios first came out, we had like some really nice memes. We had the 200 years meme. Nowadays, when Cassante does anything, we just say Riot. As Duro is just going to burn down, I think. Nope, just barely going to stay alive. So he does give a nice little thumbs up, but still with the Baron push. Going to look to take out this turret, and that they will.
Lots of damage here, though, done, and they get the turret. They can set up for a second push here.
Well, I wanted to ask you a question. Do you think Chemtech Soul works on Zombie Scion? Does he do extra damage? He probably would, right?
I think so, yeah.
Or does he have to be below 50% health as Zombie Scion
I think
to get the damage?
I think he has to be below 50% health.
As Zombie Scion?
Yes.
What if he's 100% health Zombie Scion? Okay, Fate's call.
I don't think he gets it when he's full health on Zombie Scion, because I think it's just based on your champion's current health, and I think the way it's coded is that Zombie Scion is like just a normal champion.
But he's below 0% health technically.
I guess so. I don't think it works that way though.
Somebody go test it. Either way, we're throwing out some R buttons. Dahl is behind a wall by himself. He is so tanky, but he's maybe not tanky enough. Nearly kills Duro, as here comes Zombie Scion. He does not have Chemtech Soul yet, so not like we could even look at that at this moment. Lots of poke damage still has come out from T1, so even though it is 4v5, they're still hanging around.
Look at this poke from Forest. He's setting up for it.
And Duro isn't here, so now the ult comes out, and that is a dead Rooster as Bay going to pick up that kill. Not going to give another cash in, as finally Guwon will find a Cyclone angle. But even Bout's doing decent damage now as Roamer on the chase.
Okay,
got the
volley. Value.
And yeah, going to burn some flashes, gets Bout's. And that is pretty decent on the backside of that one.
It is kind of busted that Roamer has two supports in this game. He's got a Heimerdinger to help him out. He's got the Ashe slows. And this comp can work. Like, this game is really T1 favored right now, and they have a massive gold lead all on this Draven. But if they kill him, then these fights become playable. As once again, this is just a ult setup. You know, Force is going to chunk in some damage here. Talia's Weaver's Wall is just not going to be enough to stop them from following up here. And good to see the poke is real. They have Baron buff. They're just sieging up this turret. Now, Dahl dies here, and then they're like, can we win this with Roamer? Like, Roamer's coming over. And, you know, when Force is trying to set this up, look at the slows coming through from the Ash arrows. If you actually end up... Nasty. If you end up, after the ult is down for Draven, getting on top of him, if he dies, as seen, then you can actually win these fights. Like, I think T1 do need to show some respect here, because there's a lot of damage here at decent range. Look at the slows, like that. We cut it off right before like HLE is like, okay, we could do this, we could do this.
Yeah, it's funny because it almost feels like that solo queue game where you get ahead and you start to just throw. Like T1 are so far ahead and they're just really pushing the envelope, whereas they don't really need to. Like if this were, oh god, okay, that was nearly an execute. If this were an LCK team, they probably would have just very cleanly like gotten all these objectives, kind of pushed it through, not dying, just using their poke, but T1 challengers are like, lol, we're so ahead, we're just gonna like have Dahl just run into them and like tank everything up.
I also think it's pretty, like I get why it happened because they wanted to win the all-in lane, but the fact that there's no cleanse here for Smash is like a huge win condition, right, for HLE. If he gets caught...
Well, they have Fate's Call.
I mean, yeah, but you only get one. You only get one, right? And then it's on a, it's like basically as long as cleanse, if not longer, of a cooldown. So scary times. And I think that if you're HLE here, you have to just somehow track this Draven and kill him. You have to figure out where he is. You have to set up for a pick. You kill him, and then you try to do an objective. Like right now, Baron spawns in 30. I want to see the Ash arrow engage. Like Smash is way out here. You have vision of him. Go for it. Here we go. Maybe. Maybe. No. No.
No.
I thought they were gonna do it. Like that's your angle. Like he's out there, like way up in mid lane. You gotta try to fish it for him. You have to take him out, and then just go straight to Baron.
A massive chunk of their gold lead and their damage. They still have like lots of magic poke, but without him, a lot of that execute and like 80 carry damage you're going to have in this late game is gone. As
that's not it.
Thrown out here, equalizer in the mid lane, but Dahl is just getting 100-0 now. They have the damage on the side of HLE Esports, who are playing this better as a team right now.
Yeah.
Zombie Scion is getting in there. There is a Baron, so HLE can't quite just go wait on the Dragon at this moment in time.
Yeah, this is actually really awkward for HLE, but I think they can win the subsequent fight. They do have a TP here for Rooster, could just come straight back in. And this is when Roamer's time to shine is going to be here on this Talia. Game is not over yet by any means. T1 have a huge lead, but if you get control of that Baron pit, the turn is also good for HLE when that combo's on cooldown.
Objective bounty.
Objective bounty collected. As these, the edge of night here in Banshee's Veil.
You just got to do Baron. As T1, you have to start Baron right now. Like 5 people are doing this Dragon. I think that is a bit of a mistake.
I think so too.
You're trading one Chemtech Drake for a Baron?
Yeah,
that was not the play with the lead. Well, the tempo lead you had in Summer Light.
I think this was a macro mistake, and this moment right here is I think the reason why Valdez and I voted for T1. We're like, fundamentals are better for T1. Like they had the better draft plan, and yes, HLE's draft can work, and they were starting to turn some of these fights, but moments like this in the late game is one of the biggest weaknesses for HLE. They've always looked stronger when they're ahead, and they have control over the map, but when they have to actually turn things around, they've looked a little bit weaker as here comes an ult.
Yeah, and poke comps have always been strong when you have Baron, when you have this push and siege potential. They do the poke. That's 3 R buttons gone already, so HLE Esports step up and try to deny this turret from going down. And they will. They have some pretty good wave clear, you know, Talia and Timer and even Rooster, who can stand in the front as Cassante. It's pretty good. But it is Baron after all. See if they can get this turret down.
I mean, Roamer's not here. Now he is. Oh, the arrow misses.
Yeah, the arrows have been sometimes great, sometimes
yeah, they killed Dahl in the last fight, but they weren't willing to try to fish for the 80 carry. And then, like, after they killed it, okay, hold on.
They found the squishy AP Maokai. Forest looks to be pretty dead. He's going to flash at the end. He's burning. Very, very close to going down. As Rooster in a little bit of trouble, has a massive stone plate. He is so tanky at this point in time.
Forrest is just going to get away, it looks like. Don't have any vision here, but Baron T1 getting these Baron recalls, but no damage to the inhibitor turrets. Hey, HLE are holding on. And I really feel like with the lead that T1 has, like, its scaling is so conditional in that it needs to be ult combos that come through. And if these ult combos for T1 don't work, they're still a very low-range comp. They have this Rumble that, without his ultimate, has to get up into the thick of things. It's very easily picked. The same with the Draven. And I don't want to say a comeback is happening right now, but it feels like the comeback is getting more and more possible the more minutes that go by.
Yeah, it is challengers after all.
Yeah. And
always have to remind ourselves.
Like, I feel like T1's grasp of this game is slipping ever so slightly.
Yeah. We did have one chatter. I think Ryujin was like, if T1 lose from here, I don't even know what to say, but all I can say is watch more challengers, and then you will know what to say. Because pretty much par for the course, you know?
I do think a better team punishes that kill on the Dahl better. As
Will Dahl die for the 8th time? It's looking pretty likely. He is frontlining. He is quite tanky. He does not care. He is only going forward as the huge execute almost comes out. Guwon and Duro have to back away.
Dahl did so much frontlining here, and they're just going to try to siege up this inhibitor with the last few seconds of this Baron. I think they will get it.
Yep, one more hit. There it goes.
Guwon has no flash. Down. He had to flash the Draven ult, so can't flash engage here with his Cyclone. He's running as fast as he can to get over here, maybe stop T1. It won't be successful, and T1 do finally get one of those inhibitors down here, and they're going to back. And we still have 2 minutes to go for this next Drake. Crazy game.
Yeah. Somebody was like, why do I feel like Duro's doing more damage than Lure? And I feel like the answer is he probably is.
Lure and Heimer, like Lure and Duro, their job with the Rylays here is to actually slow so Roamer can hit all of his Qs and proc Leandries repeatedly onto the entire team. He can also burst people down if he gets a grab onto somebody, like, as we've seen onto Dahl. He's very rarely ever going to be able to get Rumble or the or Smash in this case, but maybe he does if they mess up because they're low range, or if the ults miss. It's very difficult to miss because Forrest can just guarantee that you're going to hit those combos. But there is a world, right? Like, there is a chance. Look at the damage done here for the Taliyah, actually higher than Rumble's damage this game.
And Lure is actually doing more damage than Duro in this one. So we have that confirmed as of now.
But notice also, even though the Draven is super fed, all of his damage has been in ult combos. He's not auto-attacking anybody in a team fight, so his overall damage is very low. So if T1 don't get those bursts, these fights are winnable. Okay, this is a real Hail Mary arrow. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's on a 40-second cooldown, as our observers did show us. But you got to be careful when you've got Chemtech Drake coming up here, and it looks like T1 do want to make a play on this one now that there is no Baron. As Guwon in a little bit of trouble, the poke beginning to come out here from the side of T1.
Forrest.
And here we go. Nature's Grasp, everybody just trying to run away.
Look at the choke.
Look at this massive ult layering as Lure is just barely alive. He is lucky to be alive. And now maybe you just push mid and take this inhibitor as well.
I think so.
Or maybe just, no, they're just going to go Dragon.
The base is actually completely open here on the bottom side, so HLE will have to defend this. So like you say, they should be able to get the Chemtech Drake. Now in T1's composition, it means like less than nothing to have Chemtech Soul, because their comp should never be at half health, ever.
The zombie Scion value.
Yeah, that's the only one that's going to be lower than half health at any point. If anyone else is lower than half health, you're probably losing the fight.
Yeah.
As you're not supposed to fight, you're supposed to poke win and then just take an objective. But it's going to be the Elder Spawner, as we like to call it oftentimes. And Baron is up in 40 seconds. If HLE can set up vision here around this Baron, group up as 5. GA?
No, just an elixir. He does have the stopwatch, though.
Yeah. And they've pushed out this bottom wave significantly, so there's a timing window here. Roamer did TP up super early here. They just want to have cryos no matter what for this fight. This is crazy.
Life just trying to stay alive, holding on by their pinkies right now. That's okay, another ult layered in. They keep getting hit in this one corridor.
Yeah,
and the Rumble ult value is huge because his CD is so low as well.
Yeah, exactly. And he could just use it before this fight, and then they can kind of try to push forward with the Scion. And HLE are panicking, man. You can't be starting Baron. What are you doing?
Oh, they have this combo again as really knocking Dahl through the ringer here as he is going to ult in the backline, but Guwon's already dead, and here comes Zombie Scion. And look at the massive damage of Smash right now as he is not going to go in after that Fate's call.
I don't think they can do Baron here anymore without their combo. Bay's about to get his ult back online.
5,000 damage from Roamer. He's pretty low. And Smash is full health. I don't think they can really step up to him.
He has to be so
Be
careful with
honest.
his positioning here, but they're going to
Base
try.
got another ult. Base got another ult. Flashes in. Duro's dead. Lure has to flash away, and Roamer can't stay. That is the end of this Baron. T1 take another one.
Ult's so low cooldown, as you mentioned, and he's able to get another one there on the choke. And with this Baron, T1 should just be able to come bottom side here and push to end the game.
40 seconds.
40 seconds. These ultimates, because they're so powerful and can just be constantly layered in these chokes, doesn't matter if you get the kills or not, if you put everybody low and then you can continue for a front and back team fight like they do here. Is Dahl is pulled out, and look at where Roamer is in this fight. Like, he's pushing against Smash, but he takes all of his health bar from like one auto from Smash, and he's out of the fight. So even though it looks like, okay, maybe they have to try to force this in the choke once more, look at Bay, he's just waiting. Okay, they're coming through, I'm ulting.
Yep. That's all he has to do. Sees Duro, drops an ult on him, flashes.
And it's so,
That's his job.
it's so wild, but like, Bay's probably going to get POG this game, just because he's pressed R in the right places at the right time.
I mean, he does have the most damage, right? And when it comes to a comp that is very much reliant on multiple members, sometimes it is hard to just choose one guy, but I think Bay's ults have been on point every single time as they catch the Maokai this time, though. The missiles are not on point as Flash is used by Forrest. Bay gets in there for some reason, as now they are going to have to back away from this one.
Yeah, here comes Roamer trying to cut off the tanks.
We do have Fate's Call available, just going to frontline for now. Smash is chunking every single person. Here comes Zombie Maokai, or Sion, as Dallas died 10 times, Wolf.
Yeah,
10.
I mean, he's playing into a pick comp as the front line, and he needs to be in the front line for these combos to go off. Like, this is not going to be a game where you really go, okay, well, Dahl must be really bad at Sion. It's just like he's playing into a comp where Sion is just going to be a punching bag. He's doing his job, and he's doing it well. As Forrest survives here, but look at the engage. Rooster actually pulls Rumble into all-out range of the wall of the base, so actually just isolates him. And without the Rumble here, they don't feel confident they can continue the fight, so they're backing away. If Smash actually goes down here, HLE could probably push mid and take out maybe even an inhibitor, but he is able to get away. They only get the Sion, but still, you know, I mean, this game is very back and forth. It's a 10,000 gold lead here for T1, but we're getting to the point of the game almost 40 minutes in now where that gold lead matters less and less. It's just about the execution of the team fights.
I think that T1 with their current position, even though their Baron power play wasn't much of a power play at all, they still have really immaculate turn, and their ability to just press R in the choke point as Humalife tried to get into the Drake pit is going to be massive now, as you mentioned. It will come down to execution.
I think what T1 can do
does.
is just try to siege this inhibitor, just ult some people, and then kite back to the Elder, and then just take it. And then
get your ults back.
Exactly, the Equalizer's going to come back. So all they need to do here is just fish for a big Rumble. Look at Bay's positioning. He's just waiting for an opportunity with Forrest. Like, if they win the team fight here, they win the game. If they don't, they get Elder. So checkmate.
Press R and win. Let's see if it works this time. It is going to zone them off the inhibitor as they are trying to take this down. One more auto does it as the minions actually get it. And Dahl once again in the front, but the Rumble Equalizer here again as Guwon will survive.
And even though they survive, T1 just rush back to Elder here that spawns in 50, and you've got to back, you've got to get your health bars up, you're never going to have prio. T1 can actually set up so much vision here on the approach of the Drake, so it's, like I said before, kind of checkmate here. As HLE, you can't win a fight if you don't have vision, and you can't pick anybody, and you're walking into all of this CC.
Yeah. I know chat really wants Elder flip, but I don't know if we're going to get the flip part
I don't think
of this
so.
Elder. It just feels like T1 might just brute force it with the amount of vision that they have. As the AP Maokai actually chunking out everybody. Look at this already. Guwon's low, Duro's low, Rooster's low. Well, I said low, but they've taken a big chunk of damage, I should say.
There's no vision. I mean, this is what the observers are highlighting. You're walking in completely blind here. If HLE pulled this off, I mean, it's unbelievable.
Well, they have forced their way into position.
Ult's back up. Forrest seen. He has the angle here on the Maokai. They should just go on him. They should try to go on him. If they just wait, they're going to get ulted.
They're going to get Nature's Grasp here.
Here it comes.
Here it comes. Somebody's got to block for it as massive ults all the way down the line. No execute here. The clone does die.
All right, Roamer. Good luck.
All right, nice ultimate to deny the arrow, and down goes Lure. They don't have an Ashe anymore, and Rooster gets over the wall all by himself. He is all out here and incredibly difficult to take out, actually, as T1 will eventually take him out. You would have to imagine maybe with Val, but this Elder getting lower and lower, and Guan does not have an angle into this one as TP, desperate usage here by Rooster, but he will just get Dravened in the end, you would have to imagine. Elder taken, T1 takedown, Rooster, and now they can probably just push to end.
I noticed that Roamer had to go back here to try to deal with those super minions here that are in the base, and they could just TP to this and push to end, as you say, with the Elder buff. No way to defend here. Pretty close game, though, I have to say, at the end of the day.
It was a fun one.
Absolutely.
Now that equalizer, maybe that was just a celebratory one because it was not good.
It's going to be okay, though. I think they have the damage to end. Yeah, but it's one of your best tools with Elder, too. Now down.
You are going to need some of these R buttons. Okay, there's the Nature's Grasp as Guan is burning down. Dahl is incredibly low, though, as the flash forward from Smash. He has had enough. He gets another kill here, 7-1 now, as his Whirling Death not really going to hit many targets, as again, T1 kind of playing with their food, but they got to be careful, man. This is kind of rough as the clone once again goes down. Nice ultimate into Guan here as flash forward from the side of Smash, and the Bay ultimate might just get it done as down goes the Nexus, and T1 will take game number 1.
That was a very fun one. I think that HLE, the one moment where they had, I think, the ability to turn this game around was when they decided to, after they killed Dahl in mid, they decided to give Baron and take the Drake. I think if they had been decisive in that moment, maybe they could have actually gotten the keys to control the game and actually taken that map vision away. Because when you're behind against this comp, it just puts a Maokai in a corner where you can't see him and he just presses R, and then Rumble presses R, and then Draven presses R. Like, if you have map control, suddenly you're pressing R towards the darkness. You actually don't have the ability to set up that poke. You're defending with poke, which means the siege becomes incredible. But they never got that Baron, and they just gave it up to T1. I think that type of decision-making where T1 is always better with the fundamentals of macro is why they may ultimately take the series. That being said, it was a much closer game than I thought it was going to be because HLE knew their win conditions so well.
Also, T1 really had to get ahead with this comp. I think if you get behind, you're just going to get poked out. That R combo from your 3 is not going to have nearly as much power. Your Draven's not going to be getting a lot of cash-ins. He's not going to be ahead. So all of a sudden, you know, even though the Ashe looked kind of sad in this game, I think it would have totally looked different if the early game had gone different. Now, T1 did have a very specific strategy to get themselves ahead, which I think was the first nail in the coffin, even though it happened like 2 minutes into the game. But they get there, they get their lead, they push forward with this comp, and they make the win work. But pretty close game even so. So a very fun one to start us off.
No doubt. I'm really looking forward to what else T1 has planned for this series. Because I think HLE's draft is really good, but it has problems when you fall behind, right? And their draft kind of felt like they were winging it in some ways, whereas T1 were completely sure from start to finish exactly what they wanted to do. And Kalista Draven crushes the early lane. You have the Scion set up, and then Rumble is roaming, getting kills. They knew all of the weak points of their draft too, and they kind of patched all those holes in the early game too. So
yeah, it was pretty interesting as well to see a draft where the AP Maokai actually worked out and kind of made sense. You know, we talked about the layering of the AP with this Rumble, who did nearly 40,000 damage and somehow had 370 CC score as a Rumble. But congratulations to Bay, he gets the first POG of the day.
All those rockets, man.
You know, the equalizer slows everybody for a bunch of seconds, right?
That's actually going to stack up. It takes 30% of his team's damage, 33% of his team's damage. And I think if this game, if they lose control in the early mid, like, it looks very different. But now, how do you draft against T1? Because they're not going to do this again. They're not going to be like, this is how we're going to win this best of 5. It's just one prepared strategy that
and it was a red side draft as well. So I think that's probably one of their red side draft plans. I don't know how many you can have, as you're saying. They're definitely not going to do the same thing. I don't think that Hamaleif would ever let them do that again. You could even just ban Scion, and I think you're pretty okay from there on out. So nice. CC score is calculated differently here in Challengers.
It's based on it's based on every second that the CC lasts per champion. So if Equalizer
Slows included.
if Equalizer hits everybody for 5 seconds, for example, that counts as 25 CC score. So that's why it's so high here. We do it differently in challengers. I have given the feedback that I think we should probably standardize it, but that's you know, it's not up to me.
Either way, guys, that is game 1 of a best of 5. Very curious how the rest of this one will go, but we will have a break and be right back. Welcome back, guys, to LCK Challenger League. We just got done with the first game of this best of 5 of playoff round 1, match 2 between Homolife Esports and T1. T1 able to take it with a very nice composition.
Yeah, setting up pick, chaining those CCs together, or not CCs, ultimates. I'm waking up. I'm like, it was a long break, guys. I'm like getting back in the action. But chaining those ultimates together, and setting up pick, getting the Draven ahead. And was he auto-attacking people ever? No, he just pressed R on people, and he did big damage.
Occasionally, in the late game, he started to be like, oh yeah, I have a Callista.
That one time he hit Roamer and it did 2/3 of his health bar, that's when we knew, you know, like, okay.
That was the end of the game.
Yeah.
After the first end of the game, which of course was at level 1.
Yeah.
In the enemy jungle and bot lane, which got their Draven ahead, got their Callista ahead, and eventually was the cornerstone of how that entire draft worked. So I think, you know, Homolife should select blue side again.
Yeah, I think they will.
And just ban away Sion, I guess.
I mean, I think just ban Draven, and if you're going to play, like, first pick Ashe, just take away the Draven, or ban the Callista, even, and be like, all right, well, we're going to fish for the Ashe. If you ban like Rumble, then I think you're like really you just kind of failed to understand what the problems were in that game. Because yeah, Bay got POG and he did a ton of damage, but the comp only works if you have like all 3 parts and you play it all together like that. And we did get confirmation. HLE picked blue side, unsurprising.
Whoa. So yeah, I think there's a chance that maybe they also forego going for the Ashe. I know a lot of times teams are like, well, we're just not going to play Ashe this time. We don't want to do it. It got behind. Once it lost lane, we were like, what are we even going to do? Like, there were some good arrows in, like, the early to mid game. You caught Bay that one time. There were a couple other picks. But other than that, it kind of just sat there. And you made a good point during the break, which is, like, after you get behind, you kind of have to go for that build.
Yeah.
You're basically just an enabler for only Talia to do damage. And from behind, that's just not going to be good enough. So curious to see what their approach is going to be for game 2.
Yeah, I wonder if T1 also just changes up completely and just bans the Ashe and is like, we're going to play a completely different game too. Like,
Sure.
that was our game 1 strat. We wanted you to pick the Ashe. We wanted to dominate the lane with Draven Kalista. So we'll learn a lot once we get into that second draft.
Perhaps some Forest
Yeah,
family
Forest
members.
Enjoyer on the right side.
Mm-hmm. I like the Forest, you know. Forest is a very peaceful place.
I'm trying to like read the sign on the left, but it keeps going out of focus. I really tried, guys.
Still working on it?
Yeah. It was like you practice everything up until today, so try to win something, and then it like just kept blurring out for me.
Just a supporter of the T1.
Yeah.
Just another one. There are quite a lot of you out there.
Indeed. And T1 supporters.
Where is Faker? You want to take this one, Wolf?
No, I'm just gonna ignore it from now on.
Okay. Sorry.
It's okay. No, it's all right. Come back from the hospital. It's more important to cheer for Hanwha than your health. Take care of yourself, though.
Baby life is what she calls it, too. It's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Pretty nice. Hanwha Life Esports, still the best hair in the league.
Romer looking like he's in a good mood here. The coaching staff making some jokes with him.
He had a fun game.
Yeah.
And Atlas said in the chat after game 1, he's like, I think Hanwha Life Esports handled this pretty well. They should be pretty confident going into game number 2. Like, it's not like they got smashed in game 1. I mean, you could say that because Smash is on T1.
But it was a different,
other than that,
it was a different kind of Smash. Like, it was actually tempo Smash where he's actually ulting people all the time instead of the Smash we're used to, who just does a bajillion damage with Caitlyn in the late game front to back team fights. So Kalista is banned. This is what I think you should do. Okay, they also banned Maokai, which I think is a bit too much, but banning the Kalista I think is definitely the answer to this, where you're just like, okay, well, if you leave Ashe open again.
Maokai?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't think the Maokai's a bit much, but the Kalista ban, I'm about that. Because if they ban like Maokai, Kalista, and Rumble, I'm like, you only have to ban one? Oh my god, don't do this. Kennen is banned here by T1, interestingly.
Yeah, you know, especially because they can't do the same thing as game 1. I think T1 will have to change their entire draft focus, so probably wanting to pick something early on in the top lane, perhaps.
Feels like a Renekton angle, maybe.
Yeah, Renekton, or maybe even the Cassante for themselves, you know, take it away early. Certainly we are having more focus outside of the bottom lane nowadays in this meta.
Taking away Forest Elise, I think a wise choice. And let's see if that Ashe does make it through. Caitlyn was the other pick they could have gone for instead, which I thought was more safe. It's going to be Blitzcrank one more time for Duro. Let's see if they take the Ashe, because the Kalista is banned. I like it a lot more. Obviously, you can still play other Draven lanes into this, but it's going to struggle a little bit more. Varus also available, so that's another angle here. And that's kind of Lure's MO. And you take the Ashe here, and now T1 feel kind of priced into picking the Varus because you don't want to deal with the Ashe Varus.
Smash that Varus down. Now, what are they going to pick alongside of this? Scion again.
Okay.
After Doll 0 and 10, they say, well, we got to get this one again. It was just too good.
Yeah. You meme, man. I know you meme because I know you know he did a good job last game, but he did a lot.
You know what I mean?
I know what you mean when you meme.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to be mean.
Well, how about another Ashe Heimerdinger bottom lane into Scion? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we'll see what Forest plays this game, but there's not a lot of jungles that can make that same sort of impact early. The Lee Sin being one of them, and they take it away. So I was going to say, like, maybe they get Lee Sin and they try it again.
No Cassante this time.
Now, will they play Karma here is the question, because that's one of the only ways they're going to be able to match the Ashheimer. It's one of the
Caitlyn?
oldest. Could
Jhin?
Could be a thing, but I wouldn't like it as much. Oh my god.
I
I called the Callista last time, you called the Caitlyn this time.
Yeah.
All right, we're doing it again.
I mean, it will have very large range, obviously, and you can drop a trap once the Chains of Corruptions go out, I guess. And it's very good for lane. Other than that, I don't know.
I think this time Bay wants to take the Talia for himself, and they want to try to play around tempo advantages and just consistently push and get this Varus further and further ahead. And, you know, if we see the Halo Blades and, you know, Halo Blades bot lane and they push it really hard, like, on-hit can work well here. See what the rest of the draft looks like before we pass judgment on that. But Ryze is banned. So again, Bay's most picked, and one of the picks that he played a lot alongside the Twisted Fate when he was in the LCK.
He's also played 6 games of Talia so far, so...
Yeah, I think he's fishing for it here. I think they should ban it. Oh man, they don't get it, man.
They don't know Pepe
I don't
Lab.
think they get it. This is actually really disappointing to see because he could play it with this comp, but it's nowhere near as strong as it was.
Now this is weird. I mean,
could be Renekton mid, you know, but I hope not.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because this is one of the other picks, like, we were like, okay, Lee Sin's the only pick that could do the level 1 with the Scion, like we saw last time, right? Literally can do it.
Now, if you do get ahead and you're just throwing a million spears and, you know, that feels very nice, sure, but you don't have a lot of CC to follow up to enable the Nidalee. I mean, like you were saying, maybe they go for, like, the Renekton or something.
Could be also a Yone pick, but not the greatest. Don't do that. So the Ahri here is blind, and they're going to try to set up this like a pick composition this time around, just like last time with Talia, but a different type. And they're going to try to get the advantage here against the Scion on the top side of the map. I like this a little bit more, actually, just for the ability to team fight later on and break through that Scion, because these 4 things do very completely different things. As they will take the Renekton. This is cool because it denies the Renekton flex.
You do have a couple of AP options here. They hovered TF, and they're just going to pick Veigar. They did ban it here in game 1. So obviously thinking it's very strong, and in their minds, it can play well into the Ahri, so they're just going to take it for power, I'd imagine. It has some CC as well. And you can put down the box in order to provide some room to your poke comp.
Yeah, I think you put down the event horizon, kind of guarantees spears landing in most cases, and then you have the follow-up Chains of Corruption and the burst damage, even with Caitlyn's ult. And then anyone who's in the event horizon will get queued by the Scion, right, if you have that perfect setup. Good gank assist for the Nidalee with the Scion if he can hit that Q, but otherwise not going to be a lot of power there. So I think Guwon has a lot of agency in this early game. Ahri should be able to control the Veigar matchup pretty well if played correctly. We have seen this matchup go both ways, especially with Comet Veigar in the LCK. For HLE, it's weird because both of these comps are kind of trying to do the same thing in a different way. It's all about chaining CC together and blowing up a single target.
Do you think Lure builds for damage this time around, or same builds?
I actually think same build. I think he's going to be more utility this time around too. I think he's going to go for the same build so he can farm freely in the mid lane against the Varus Caitlyn. As the Ravenous gives you the ability to get those minions quickly and safely in the mid lane, gives you some additional sustain. I think Smash will actually go lethality this game, and I think that he absolutely should.
Hope so.
Because otherwise you have serious problems with lethal tempo into this comp because they're trying to pick you, they're trying to catch you. You do not want to be anywhere near them. You just want to follow up, poke with your Veigar, setting up the cage, setting up the Scion Q. That's where you want to be. If we see lethal tempo, I may lose my mind a little bit, so please forgive me, chat.
Yeah, no, we're all going to be losing our minds together with you. That's like playing the game on extreme hard mode. I don't think you want to do that in this game. Humble Life Esports up against T1. Once again, same sides. Let's jump into game 2.
wow, that was our
We're
best
just
yet.
perfectly synchronized. These new patches, really nice. As the poke begins. And guess what? Sion can do the same thing again.
Yep. And they're definitely going to try to force it. And unfortunately, HLE are like, we grew up for this, right? We win this, right?
The stun onto the Sion. He flashes away as Guwon has to flash out as well. And the poke continues, flash in as one more will do it. First blood given over to Smash, as he is going to be very happy with the start. Win Hail of Blades, double Hail of Blades in the bottom side. Hope he's going lethality with this lead.
I think he is. Look at the Treasure Hunters starts here for the Varus and the Caitlyn as well, trying to get that gold snowballed even further. And what I was going to say right before it happened was HLE are like, okay, we have to fight this or else they're going to do it again. I'm like, you can't fight this, actually. You will not win this. And even with the charm landing there, like Lee Sin goes in to 5 people at level 1 and then has to flash out.
Lee syndrome.
Also dies, so we're just doing it again. And it's Halo Blades here for the Varus and the Ashe. They both did not save their flashes. They had to use them to secure that kill their bottom side, but
yeah,
this is going to get very messy very quickly.
They're kind of just saying, like, cool nerfs, bro. We do not care. We're just going to play it anyway. It's still strong.
Yeah.
And, I mean, it's working so far. So let's see how it goes in this one. Are they just going to dive bot again? I think you might as well.
Yeah, I think they're going to.
With the bot prio, the push you have going on already.
Gonna clear this wave.
Here we go again.
Level
Varus
3 in
level
Italy.
3.
And they get the TP, and then that in itself might just be the, okay, we're not doing this
I mean, they
moment.
can still just sit here and poke them. As the poke comes in, the stun is onto Dahl, as this is not going nearly as well as game number 1. Lure is quite low, but he will not die. Finally dies to Zombie Sion, actually, and Rooster's getting kited out by the 2 range, and he steps on a trap next to the tower, as he is incredibly low.
He's gonna die. The question is, who gets the kill?
There's
Smash
no
wants it. Smash wants it.
Ooh, hits it. Doesn't quite have the mana, but they just push in another wave, another Q hits. And Rooster, he's just gonna have to back. They're not gonna get the kill, but still, it's already a plate for the bottom lane too. This is just disgusting, Wolf.
And the fact that they kept Rooster here this long, even though he doesn't die, you know, it gives the Sion the ability to come back up here. It's an even smaller lead he's gonna have this time around. Yeah, he picked up a kill.
3 CS.
3 CS. Not great. It's going to get better, but it's not going to be great for a little while, as obviously they do have to back here.
They have so much money.
So
You might as well.
I figured when the TP comes through, you just stay. Like, you stay here and just zone them away and actually get plates. They force it anyways and are actually pretty unsuccessful here. Like, Lure flashes, does go down, but he goes down to the Zombie Sion. No additional kills for Smash and Bout. The trap here is really rough. It's going to cost Rooster his flash.
Yeah.
But this could have been a lot better, and I think it would have been better if they didn't actually commit. It's still good. Like, don't get me wrong. But I think it could have been better.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they're just trying to, like, squeeze as much value out of the Sion as possible. They're like, he's so good. Even if he dies, Zombie Sion's going to get in there and do damage, and he did. But as you're mentioning, like, I think it could have been handled a little bit cleaner. But that's kind of been the theme of Team 1 so far. As Guwon does have a high win rate on the Lee Sin. They did prio pick this for him. They picked it in the first round instead of, you know, skipping over it and going for the Cassante instead, as they did in Game 1.
Now, one argument for not building what Lure built in Game 1 on this Ashe is that this time you don't have a Leandri's champion to actually carry the fights. You have to get picks nonstop, and having some additional damage on the Ashe would be nice in those cases. As this is not what you're looking for.
See you, Big. You know he's here, right? He is going to get charmed, and now he has to flash. Dodges the Q. That was very confusing. The Lee Sin did walk over a ward.
Spear.
Yeah. This is something you can just do. The Forest can just sit here.
Yeah, and if Lee Sin comes down, he just dies to actually... I mean, he can come and do his Krugs, but that's all he can do. He can't actually come over here and try to set up for a defensive counter gank or anything like that. He just kind of has to watch his teammates lose money and maybe hope for a dive. That's the only power Lee Sin's going to have here. As you can see, he's just watching. He's a spectator.
Luck Dude says, okay, but what if Leandri's are a checkmate caster?
I mean, I did think about that actually.
we have seen it.
Yeah, we have seen it.
Unfortunately.
But unfortunately, it is not the greatest way to proc Leandri's.
I mean, you can do it, but it's not great. As I assume he was joking. He was having a bit of fun.
No, I know he was, but like it's a conversation
having a bit of fun.
It's a conversation that we can have, but it's
Oh God.
Yeah.
And this is a tri-lane that, as you mentioned, Life can't really do much about, because Guan just sits here and he's like, okay, Lure had to back. He's not even in the lane. He's already down 22 CS. He's going to lose his third plate on the turret at 5 minutes into the game.
It's okay, he bought a tier.
Well, same build as game number 1.
Yeah, it is going to be the same build, and he's opted into it early here, but what are you going to do? I mean, the tier is not going to give you any value. You have to build it if you're going for that build, but like, it doesn't give you any value whatsoever right now.
It's kind of funny that so many teams are struggling to win on red side. T1 just come in here in the first round of Challengers playoffs and they're like, let me show the world how to do this.
Well, the most humiliating part about this too, Valdez, like, you know, anyone who's ever played anything professionally, like if you play against any sort of strategy game, if you played chess competitively, if you played, you know, like Smash Bros competitively with your friends even, like, you know what it's like when you lose to something you've never really seen before. And they're like, okay, he might do it again, but he probably won't. And you go into a second game, and then like they do it again, almost the same thing, and you feel ready for it, and you still lose to it. And that's like kind of what's happening here. They're like, oh, he's doing it again. They group up at level 1, mess up the fight, and then fall behind. They're like, oh, they're gonna do it again now, and now we can't do anything against it. And it wasn't the cleanest there on the bottom side, but it was good enough, and the advantages are still compiling. And mentally here as HLE, it's so hard to recover in a best of 5 after this. You know, even if they get to a mid game that's passable and maybe we actually have a real game, kind of like we did in game 1, still just mentally you're blocked at these early games and then these drafts right now. As Forest is going to get zoned.
Oh, Forest in a lot of trouble here actually. Does not have flash. Looks like it was like 2 seconds away. As a nice little invade from Roamer and Guan.
Yeah.
Nicely done.
Well played, and unfortunately Bay just doesn't have any vision, doesn't realize this is happening, and doesn't know that Roamer is missing and is going to head over. And they had that one ward in the brush, but it looks like he was able to circumvent it there. We'll see in the replay what path he took exactly to get into the jungle there with Guan. But if he was seen, then this is kind of on Bay. He should have communicated that and should have come over and helped. Because, yeah, he just walks over this ward. This is actually just some really missed communication.
Like he knew.
Yeah, I mean, 100%
he was like
knows.
dragging it out. He's like, oh, I might be able to get this. Just a little bit of greed, I think, from Forest.
Yeah.
And then he's like trying to back away, but then he just gets caught.
Good charm here from Roamer. Waits till they get to the choke there where it's unavoidable.
So we cut to the Teemo's thumbs up. As Duro's like, yeah, cool story, bud. Like, we're still getting destroyed in the bottom lane.
Yeah.
But still a good feel for the side of Life Esports.
You know, like, this is going to sound weird, but just talking about these two teams, I feel like HLE is the better team. But I don't think they're going to win the specified. You know what I mean? I actually think individually each part of this team is like actually better.
Right?
Yeah. But the T1 as a whole is the better roster, and they have better coaching staff and better planning.
Exactly.
It's crazy.
That was the thought. And Life might still win from here, as that is going to be a steal away by Guan. The arrow does sail wide as they're trying to front to back here. Bay has some very nice angles on a cage, and they will try to zone them away. Look at the traps as well. It's so difficult to move in onto this composition.
That was really impressively played from HLE. Now, they will only pick up the local gold from the Herald's kill. The eye is gone, so they can't actually get that. So it's not a huge win, but still, stopping the snowball from rolling is quite significant, because that plate gold is so valuable for this top side that has now lane swapped here.
Absolutely.
Is looking for more plates. So if they had gotten the Herald here and then they just crash it into top, like the lead just continues to compile. And it is lethality bars.
You know, just like back, go bot, take down first blood turret, and then move your bottom lane into mid or something.
I think they are pretty much guaranteed first turret blood. Nice flash. Get.
Flash get.
I'm a Japanese RPG now. Flash get.
This is some of the fun. You can trap the Ahri into the cage, and she just can't do anything. So that is part of why Veigar likes this matchup. Can be a little bit difficult if you get engaged upon first. Well, Roamer has to flash. He has Spirit Rush.
Yeah, I think he just panicked there a little bit. Perhaps thought the event horizon was coming back up.
I guess Spirit Rush is like better value? I don't know. Flash is instant. I'm not sure. Spirit Rush better for like setting up plays sometimes.
If the event horizon was up and like he placed it well, if he Spirit Rushes at that timing, like he just runs into the wall and dies and can't flash. So I think he's scared of the event horizon, but it was still on cooldown, I believe. So just a little bit of a panic play, but also like arguably the safest thing he could have done, even though maybe a little bit incorrect at the time. So flashless now on the Sari, which is pretty significant for a champion that needs to close the gap and set up those charms. Has the Everfrost now ready. So slight lead with that early kill. Definitely speeding him up here. And maybe we could see HLE group for a fight here at this point in time.
Yeah, once again, Guwon trying to press his luck into the enemy jungle, and it feels pretty good, to be honest, as Forest is going to avoid this. He does spot Guwon, which should take away some power from this duo roam that has worked so well for Roma and Guwon so far.
The problem for HLE is they don't have these Heimerdinger turrets set up. If they could have actually gotten this bottom lane here, which they never have prio here, that's the part of the problem with Heimerdinger lanes that lose is like, Heimerdinger lanes are supposed to win so you can then get the prio and set up the turrets, and then in this case Duro is actually completely useless, whereas Bout is already getting so much value with his traps, with his ultimate. He's pushing the Lee Sin out. So it's not a Drake fight you can take here, unfortunately, as HLE. They're trying to group up and maybe look for that charm play, but no flash. Roamer's got Ghost. He's like, flash on cooldown, pulling out the Ghost. Here we go.
Hell yeah. Spirit Rush and a Ghost. Spear nearly clips Guwon as the arrow is going to hit the Caitlyn. That is big trouble for Bout, but it doesn't quite matter as he lives and they take out Lure instead. And everybody's solo. They get poked out as Homolife Esports tried to force a play on this dragon, and guess what? It's Hex Tech Soul this time. A very different game from game number one.
Yeah, absolutely a huge Drake to have a 2 Drake lead on, and we knew it was going to be a good one, right? Because it's Cloud and Chemtech as the first individuals. I think this is why both of these teams contested so heavily for it. You don't know which Drake it's going to be before the fight. But playing into Event Horizon is so tough. It almost feels like Bout is baiting this, because look at the follow-up, how instantaneous it is. Barrier, instantly the Event Horizon goes up, and look at the follow-up damage here. The Dark Matter on everybody, the ult comes through Lure, is instantly deleted, and Bout, even if he dies here, the fight is won. He gets out, so it's an even bigger win, but his sacrifice is not in vain.
Yeah, he won a medal for that one, for sure. That's really rough now for Homolife Esports because they lose, you know, a bunch of summoners. They don't get the Drake. They don't get a kill. They basically get nothing. And once again, you know, the Renekton's up there in the top side. he's getting a lead here on the Scion. That's all cool and good as Rooster is going to get hit by this spear, and he's in a little bit of trouble here. Does get the double dash as another spear will be dodged. Not that one. As the chains! They hit, beautiful. And Smash is going to put him in the death chamber.
Smash is so good, man. Lily saying, Renekton, our relationship is over. My new best friend is the Varus. And, yeah, this is going to be, looks like maybe a plate going over here. 10 seconds to go on that first turret. He's going over to T1. Roamer.
First turret blood goes to Dal Scion.
Yeah.
He's getting rewarded for game one.
And I believe they did not get a plate here topside. It was hard to see. We'll get a look of it in a second here with our UI. I mean, they're like winning on all over the map.
Apart.
Yeah, they're like, oh, we got to rotate top. We got to deal with this lane. And then we don't have a Renekton. Oh, no, we lost bottom turret. They're just getting out macroed so hard right now.
Yeah, it's pretty rough. As we're going to take a look at the replay here once again on Rooster.
Oh, he's got a control ward here. I think just reacting a little bit slow. And then watch the chains. Rooster's trying to zig and zag here, walks back, and then it's actually really easy to hit the arrow because of the turret, but then he kind of walked into this one. I mean, that's good aim from Smash there, but also a little bit unlucky.
Yeah. He was reading the vibrations, the back and forth, you know, of the sine wave. He's like, okay, he's going to come back now, and actually does read the jukes
and the arrow
side of Rooster.
Yeah, and the arrow hitbox is pretty big, and when you're next to a turret like that and zigging and zagging, there's only so much space you have actually because of the structure on the map. And
okay, I don't know about trying to force this second Rift.
I mean, I think Homolife are thinking about game 3 right now. They at least have this vision sub so they can look for a pick here with Roamer. But if this is the only way they're going to get T1 to come to them, right, is to try to start this, but they've already lost control.
Yeah, they don't even, you need to have position to get picks, right? Like, But you're just slowly getting poked out. The traps are coming down. The double traps are coming down.
Yeah, now they need to leave.
Rooster's just dead.
They need to leave.
He just got kaboom boomed from 100 to 0.
He get kaboom boomed. I hate when I got kaboom boomed. I hate that kaboom boom angle.
Where did he go?
Straight to the death chamber.
Where's Faker? Who are these players? Okay, Charm comes in. They will pick off Dahl, maybe. Yes, they do get him.
They're still going to lose their turret here.
Thank you for your service.
Worth. Oh my god, no way. So close to Bout's ult coming back up too.
What's ultimate?
Okay. That was close, but will not actually connect with the turret. And going back to that fight on the top side, like, you don't have your Heimerdinger turret set up very well. They had a control ward in the brush. Like, look at the beginning of this. Or actually, we're not going to look at the beginning of this. Never mind.
Again. Yeah, he's just going crocodile hunting tonight.
And all the follow-ups here. There was an old, like, Korean MOBA term, 일점사, which is like it's like people would write it out as 1.4, which is what it literally means, but it also means to fight on 1 point. And that is the style of play we're seeing from T1 here in this game, just like constantly focusing down one target, fighting for one specific pick, or fighting on one specific point, as we saw in Game 1. And it's crazy the lead that they have now and how they're compiling it. But HLE, they had a good setup to maybe look for a charm for like 1 second. Then once they lost control, it's like, you can't fight this anymore. But Rooster's all the way in the pit, and you don't have any Heimerdinger turrets.
This game is looking more one-sided than game number 1. Like, game number 1 was a really cool kind of 5-man composition. This time, obviously, they do have some really nice synergy with the invade and all that stuff again, but now Homolife don't even have the win condition of the Talia with Leandri's tanks, as they are going to look for this pick, though. Maybe I did just curse them, as in goes the Lee Syndrome. We go over to Smash, who is coming on in, and the main character, as Bout will survive with 1 health once again, and this team fight should go all the way into the hands of T1. Everybody is running away. Bait is flashing into enemies, into a giant turret. Not very well handled here from the side of T1, but they still will win the fight.
And that's going to be sole point going over to them. I mean, Duro's coming over here to see what he can find, but I think this is pretty much guaranteed. And once again, HLE get there first, and they try to desperately set up, and then a few of those poke arrows come through from Smash. They lose their health bars, they start backing away, and then T1 pull the trigger and actually look for the setup. As the attempt for the Ahri to go through there with the Charm and the Everfrost and set up for a pick for Guwon is good. But like watch this. He's like, all right, maybe I'm getting the support flashed over the wall, and then Guwon takes this anyways and desperately kicks as he tries to actually get the kill, and he's dead. And now, like, Smash, like, I'm ready to smash. I'm ready to do it. Let's go. Team fight and chill. Let's get in there.
Team fight and chill.
Anybody looking for some arrows? I'm the arrow guy.
Yeah.
The local arrow salesman. I'll just set it. He does delivery.
I hear he's got a pretty sizable arrow from my sources, based on what I've seen from this game as well. You know, does not lie. As he's got Eclipse now, win for Yomu's first, and he is actually just smashing. Has nearly 3 times the damage of his counterpart in the Ashe, which this time around, Lure is really not doing damage, even compared to the Heimerdinger, who has the most damage on the side of Homolife Esports, because he's the only one who can poke.
Yeah, it's like one of those games where it feels bad to judge Ashe's damage, and like that's not what we're doing. It's just like, functionally this doesn't work, so we have to point out why and show the stats that back it up. Like, this isn't going to work when you're behind like this, and you're missing arrows, it's not a good look.
Yeah.
Missing a charm too. They're like, even if they hit any of those things onto Forest, nobody can kill him. Like, if you hit the arrow into the charm, Forest is like, where's your damage? Oh, okay, you don't have any.
Thunderbuns from YouTube chat says, this looks like a scrim strategy developed in 13.1 that was held until now.
It also,
and I kind of agree.
He also then said, scaling lol, get level 1.
Absolutely. It actually does feel like that way, though. Like, even the champs, you know, the Nidalee, the Caitlyn, the Varus. As, yeah, okay. Oh, God, these just keep hitting. As now the cage is down once again. Roamer looking for the catch, but all he can do is charm Dahl. He doesn't have range to get into the backside unless T1 engage first.
Yeah. Spirit Russian. Like, the level 1 strategy is a really good one here for T1. They have a winning lane, obviously. But I think HLE's handling of the level 1 is the biggest problem here, because if they don't fully commit and they actually win the fight with some good charm setups and Guan doesn't actually take that Q, then, God to say, this game could have looked playable at the very least, you know, but when you lose that so hard, then you open up the follow-up dive, et cetera, and then the game is just, it's just donezo. Like, there's no way to angle this. As you mentioned before, there's no Leandri's set up for this Ashe where you can go, okay, we can burn through some health bars, we can front to back. You don't have that. Your Renekton is ahead, technically, but isn't fed or accelerated in any way. He's just sitting on Merc Treads and a Gore Drinker, so he can't actually kill anybody.
Yeah. Atlas came in here late. He's like, wait, what the hell happened? Yeah, they just invaded as 5, and they won because, I mean, Nidalee Sion, right? And he's like, just ban Sion. They banned everything but Sion. They banned Rumble, they banned Maokai, they banned Kalista. It was everything but the Sion, and then they just got Sioned again.
Like, there were so many things that HLE could have done instead in terms of the draft. Like, you mentioned all of the bans, but also they could have just not picked Ashe face up. They could have actually picked a different AD carry. Could have gone for, like, a prio pick on Lee Sin and then
it's like what you were saying. Like, no way they do this again, right? Like, they can't do it again, right? So we can just pick Ashe safely again this time, right?
And then if you like feel like you banned enough of those champions, right? You banned the Maokai away, you banned the Draven away. You're like, okay, should be fine, right? But it's not in this case. But you could have done something differently. And if they pick blue side again and lose the same game 3 times, basically at the early game, I'm gonna lose it because you've got to be more adaptable than this if you're going to go to the next round of playoffs. And maybe that was the test that HLE failed, and we'll see in summer season. This game isn't over yet because the Nexus is still alive, but like I think we should be starting to have conversations about what happens in the draft for game 3, because a bit of a draft dip here, a bit of an execution dip, as Rod of Ages does complete level 15.
What happened to Lure's health bar?
Smash happened.
And you look at the builds here for Ahri, he's behind. He has to go very defensively as you teleport into a Veigar. I must say, as now Lure is basically gone. That's one from chat. Oh god, Duro, you're dead. Oh, he's actually going to flash. And then he just gets flashed on. Down goes the Heimer. And this is going to be Hextech Soul at 23 minutes for T1. And they might just even... Well, I feel like you might as well just take the objective, guys.
Rooster's flanking.
Instead, I guess we're just going to fight as they try to get on top of Smash here, who does not have flash. Down he goes. As, again, T1 did not have to do this, but kind of playing with their food. As Bay is just going to run straight into them, gets flashed on. He's like, dude, I have Rod of Ages.
Also, where is the follow-up damage? It's an Ashe with no damage.
Yeah. And so Rooster might be able to get away here as Bout is over the wall. Even he's got a little bit of damage here on the support. Caitlyn
is trying to delay here for Roamer to come back in. He has teleport. Yeah, but I don't think they can now. Because, well, yeah, they should have, but now they can't. And Roamer has teleport, so they're going to come over here and contest. And you know what? If HLE are really quick about this, maybe they could actually get a pick and then take it themselves. But they're so slow. They have no vision whatsoever. They're totally blind. I'd love to see a vision toggle here because, like, they have nothing. Like, look at all these wards. Look at all the darkness that HLE is playing into here with this comp, with the Ahri that needs to set up a pick. You don't know where the rest of the team is standing. Smash is back and alive. He's going to push mid. And, I mean, teleporting into, like you said, to the event horizon here is just...
And a trap.
Yeah.
And a trap. Chains hit Lure on the backside here. He immediately dies.
So Rooster backs up to the top side of the map and is actually going to look for a long con flank here. Roamer avoids the second event horizon. Yeah, the support dies. And you're so far behind that you don't have follow-up damage, but you have to try. You mentioned Roamer built the Banshee's Veil because you're so far behind. You need that against spears. If you get hit by a spear, you're dead.
So they're like, do damage.
He doesn't do damage. So when the engage comes through here from Duan and Rooster, like, Roamer can't really follow up that well.
Yeah. Smash doesn't have flash, so they do get him. And again, like, T1 could have just taken the objective, but instead this happened.
They couldn't have also done any, like, they can only get this, the AD carry, and normally that means you kind of win the subsequent fight, right, if you have a mid laner and a top laner on top of the rest of the team, but without the damage, they can't.
Well, Chains this time misses. I don't know why Rooster's got a target on his back for those chains. Smash really not enjoying the hairstyle, perhaps.
Yeah, maybe that's the real reason.
Yeah. He's got something out for Rooster. And after that last fight, there's not a lot of summoners for anyone. We do have Flash and Exhaust for Roamer. That's pretty much it. Everybody on both sides has no Flash. There is a heal on Smash.
Look at the positioning of Smash, though. He knows he's the main target, and he's just going to stay way back.
Just hit arrows. You have Hextech Soul now.
Every time an arrow hits, the team gets slowed, and
this is really the most important time for T1 to play it safe. Because it's you know, it's Hextech Soul, it's 5,000 gold, it is a lot, but one pick onto Smash and anything could happen.
Especially when Shadow Flame is done.
Speaking of which, they are going to try to go for Bout here once again as he lives on low health again. You can't make this up as Rooster is so low, just gets arrowed down, and Smash this time around will not play aggressive. He's in the backside, hits another arrow. Dallas taking a lot of damage here as Lure finally able to find an angle to do some himself.
Keeps getting these slows here, but isn't going to do a lot of damage, and now the setup is real here for T1. Trying to push your way through this with Event Horizon available is so tough. Bout's going to back, and we'll rush back over to this Baron pit. Is a very early Elder, by the way, in this game. Like, we're talking a 30-minute Elder, so if the flip does happen, if HLE could force a flip, that's one way back into this game. But I don't think it's going to happen because T1 are kind of delaying this Baron and getting more map control, and if they have Baron, then they guarantee Elder when it happens. In fact, thinking about it, I'd almost just say T1 shouldn't do Baron right now. They should just continue to maintain vision control and just prevent HLE from doing it. And then just time it with the Elder so that they can get it in the end of the game.
Well, I have some good news.
Yeah.
Everything you've said is very true.
True.
We do have Imperial Mandate finished for Ashe, so now the Banshee's Veil Ahri will get some more damage.
There we go.
Huge.
Good for the Renekton, you know? Renekton doing some damage, maybe.
Yeah. Massive.
I mean, the Ahri has, or rather the Ashe has no functionality in this game in terms of actually being able to do damage. She can't be in range of people,
James
as you can see.
Again, but this time Smash is going to get caught, and this is what we were talking about. Smash is gone. And can they win from here? Another charm is going to hit onto Dahl. Nice cage is going to stop Rooster from getting in, and the Hextech value is massive, but gets baited by Neil.
Roamer, can he carry?
He's trying to hit those Qs, not quite able to do so, but that's the first step if you're Helma Life Esports. Doesn't get you much,
Yeah,
but at least the one kill is better than nothing.
It's better than nothing, but it is still basically nothing, because if you can't get the Baron, it doesn't matter. And now we're getting to the point where Baron outlasts the time before the Elder spawns, so you've delayed it enough. And when we see Dahl get back over here, he also has teleport, and Smash respawns. You can actually start the Baron, and there's nothing HLE can do about it, because yeah, you got a kill, but you didn't win the fight. You don't have the ability to go over to Baron. And so when Smash gets here, T1 will look to start Baron, and win this the subsequent fight. They can turn. They're even going to start it before he gets here because he has a Hextech gate to take, so he can get over here very quickly. And HLE are not even in the vicinity.
Yeah,
they have,
look at the vision.
Yeah.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's just gone. I mean, they can't get in. They see it now. Arrow's going to go out. Can the arrow steal?
Nope.
Nope. Guys.
Just delay the Baron for 1 extra second just to make sure you have it set up properly for the Elder, you know?
Definitely going to give them the benefit of the doubt on that one. Yep.
All right. But now that we put that up, now please put that back down. Now please put that back down.
The Renekton carry angle.
Yeah. Unfortunately, not going to be too valuable here, as T1 are going to be able to get a ton of map control, a ton of gold on the map here. This could be denied.
Okay, well, he's going to get it just to TP in and almost die. Rooster, again, the only one who can carry here from ahead, tries to zone for his team, but there is a cage that has caged Guwon, and that is going to be the end of this Helma Life Esports front line. They might just be able to end the game here. We might not even get an Elder Flip.
Yeah, I think they're just going to end straight up.
Look at Bout, he's support Caitlyn, and he's going to kill Lure.
Well, that's secondary support Ashe right there, so.
Oh, too real.
I mean, basically, both of these comps are double support for HLE. This game,
Well, Dahl's going to die for some reason.
it's okay.
He's just tanking up that turret, you know, trying to increase the speed of the
He will die twice, in fact, Others.
Yeah, objective takedown. And that's going to do it for game number 2. T1 on match points here as Bout will live again on 1 health. You cannot make this up. As T1 in a very comfortable spot now.
Yep. I think I'm going to have to give the POG to the Varus this time around, though.
Absolutely.
Incredible play from him. Really good accuracy on his arrows. Really nice, honestly, map rotations. He was everywhere all at once. Yeah, don't do this. Look at this trap. Oops. Oh, Nidalee Q from the
Hextech
Caitlyn.
Soul.
Hextech Soul. Ouch.
Ooh, owie. My bones.
Everything hurts. Why my joints hurt all the time?
POG is obvious. Should definitely have gone to Dahl, right? The Scion mastermind.
We really just need to see a change up in draft here.
Surely they won't pick Scion again. 3 games in a row, right, Wolf?
We need to see a change up. Because this comp works with the double, like this is basically double support. Just to be clear, like both of these drafts with the Ashheimer is a double support comp where you're trying to set up picks, and then you have a carry in mid. The RA is supposed to get ahead and set up charms, and you get control around the map. And now you're like in a position where you can't carry with Leandries when you fall behind, so the game looks even more one-sided. And it's a cool idea. And HLE came with like one cool idea for this best of 5, and they definitely have some other drafts prepared. They tried it in game 1, got completely shut down. They did some bans, ran it back in game 2, got completely shut down by basically the same comp. And I really hope that they pick blue side and do something else.
I'd have to agree with you. Atlas in the chat said just ban Hash at this point.
Well, don't do that.
No, just ban Scion and go from there. Hopefully game 2 has taught them this, and they can set themselves up a little bit better, because you know, it's just the preparation of T1. It's the better drafting so far, and yes, they're playing well, but I think that individually the Humble Life Esports members are playing as well as they possibly could with what they're given, which is not very much.
Except Guwan.
So I feel kind of bad for them. Yeah, Guwan's...
I mean, Guwan needs to step it up a little bit.
He's having a rough day, but perhaps game 3 is the way. Perhaps the reverse sweep comes in.
We talked about how Smash in the bottom lane is, it will pick up POG. Smash versus Lure is going to be the critical matchup today.
And this guy on the Rift, by the way, 2006.
Yeah.
I think that makes him 17.
Well,
17
or 17
in July.
Yeah.
I just checked that.
So this is the matchup we said was going to be, for us, the key player matchup. I was surprised it wasn't shown. I think maybe the Korean side doesn't have as much faith in Lure as we do, but 2 games where Lure can't play, Smash destroys him with the draft he's given, and the game looks lopsided.
Dahl doing it all, the no MVP. Maybe he'll get it in game 3. Let's just hope he doesn't get Scion again. I'd like to cast some League of Legends. We have had a couple of very fun games, but they haven't felt very even. Like, even though Humble Life Esports have found some angles, it has not quite been enough. But guys, 2-0 currently. We are going to take a bit of a break. We'll be back for game number 3. Welcome back, guys. We're here live at the WDG Esports Studio for League of Legends Challengers Korea Challengers League. We're getting to Game 3 of T1 versus Home Life Esports. Now, the first couple of games have been T1 just out-drafting and out-level 1ing Home Life Esports, who have not really gotten a chance to play much League of Legends.
Yeah, it's really going to be about the draft here in Game 3, but we've cast a lot of best of 5s in our time across multiple esports, and you can come back from a 0-2. Like, it happens a lot. We see a lot of reverse sweeps in esports, especially if you win Game 3. Like, you can have that momentum shift. You win Game 4, then it's like actually really hard to lose Game 5. Reverse sweeps happen a lot because of this. But it's really hard to get that third win when you've lost 2 games in a row, basically at like level 1 to 3. And your draft is fine in isolation, but the execution of the early levels really leaving you basically a bottom lane that can't do anything. So we need to see a change up here, because you knew it was coming in Game 2. You banned some of the tools away. You grouped up at level 1. You're like, we're not going to let them steal that red buff away. We're not going to let them group up and go Raptors red into the gank bottom side. And then Guwon takes the Q, and they die. And it's like, just get out of that headspace. Do something different. Just play a completely different draft. I think that's what you have to do here.
Don't play Ashe or ban Sion.
They picked red side.
They picked red side. That is one way to do something differently. I think they could have chosen a different path with blue side, but instead they elect to just take red side, which is very interesting. I think, do you think they would just say, okay, we're going to do what you did, but then T1 just banned Sion, and it's like,
well, I think T1 just won't first pick Ashe, and they'll like just respond to what HLE are doing, because so far HLE have just been like, we're playing Ashe, and they're like, cool, we got a winning lane, and we got the Sion. Whereas I think T1 will approach blue side differently and be like, we first pick Lee Sin. What are you going to do?
Yeah.
Let's see what's going on. Let's actually get some information, right? I don't think HLE is going to try to copy what they did. I don't like this, actually, on the side of HLE, because I think right now, weirdly enough, red side is it has way less counterpick potential, actually, because of how the bot lanes work. Blue side, you get to counterpick AD carry unless you first pick it, as they did twice. So now T1 can actually counter HLE's lane again. Because if you only pick one of those, you lose jungle priority, you lose one of your solo lanes, and then T1 can take away your support. Like, it gets messy.
Let's see how it goes from here. Maokai bans once again as Heimerdinger taken away. Also, Guwon's Lee Sin going to be taken away here. Ashe also banned by T1, so they say, well, we're not going to play it, but you're also not allowed to play Ashe Heimer at all this game because we're just going to ban it. So what do you think? First pick Varus here, maybe?
Yeah, it looks like first pick Varus with the Lee Sin ban coming through. Would have been a Lee Sin first pick otherwise. Now, they did ban Kennen in Game 2, so maybe they think the Kennen priority is super high and they want to take that, but I really just don't think that's a good idea. Varus is banned, so other priority picks that are very safe are like the Cassante here. You could grab Wukong if you just want to play reactionary. Annie is available. Okay,
wait,
I actually
what?
completely, that just slipped past my mind. So actually you gave Annie.
No.
Oh no.
Look at Rooster. He's like, oh God, what am I going to do now?
Yeah, this is, I actually like, the fact that Annie is open just doesn't actually compute in my brain.
Yeah. And you guys in the chat are calling for no Sion ban. This is a totally different, like, realm that we're talking about here. I don't think Sion, maybe they play Sion again, but from blue side, very different situation and will be a very different strategy, right? So no need to really ban that away. So Wukong Gragas here for good team fight CC.
I actually think you can go like Kennen Zeri here and actually be like totally fine. And you don't know what the enemy bot lane is, but you can ban out some of the counters. You don't need Lulu necessarily. You have Annie. You can actually play Annie support. And then Kennen is going to feel really nice for team fights and some of the peel for the Zeri. But, Zeri has fallen off in favor big time in challengers. We don't see it a lot. So they're going to do something else. Probably not this.
Full dive
Hopefully not that. Hopefully not this.
Definitely not this.
That's okay. Yeah, that's the one.
That's the choice.
That's the good one. Okay, yeah, that's fine.
They're like, what about all these other dive jungles? Nope, there's only one in this meta. It's Vi. There are others, but
they're not as good.
At this point, just pick the Vi.
So, are HLE just going to pick Jace here and be like, we're flexing, we got counter picks prepared? Because I think that's the best option. You could also do this into the cannon, face up. You could do this. It is...
that is an option.
It's a lot of frontline and a lot of CC setup for your AD carry, but you're not going to get the AD carry you want necessarily, obviously, because T1 can target the bottom lane now.
I think T1 bans Zeri now.
And you also get, like, you're giving yourself a losing lane topside, essentially. And Gragas is just going to lose to Annie, too, in mid, if that's where the Annie does go. And we're going to trade out AD carry bans here. I like the Xayah ban, considering how it plays into Vi, Ken, and Annie. And then maybe a Draven ban here for HLE if they're planning on playing that Zeri. If it goes through, I think is probably the next step. Caitlyn, also same idea. That means Draven will be a possible option here, so HLE should maybe pick support first.
Tom Kench.
A weird one.
Well, they're saying if you pick Zeri, we will have answers, because you will not have the two Tom Kenches, Kalista and Tom Kench himself. So go ahead and pick Zeri, I dare you.
Yeah, they wanted to set up dives bottom side. This is like what T1 does in the LCK with Annie. They just actually roam bot and set up dives, and it is going to be the Zeri, as we expected, but not a lot of
Gen.G enjoyers.
It's a Draven lane, right?
Yeah.
It's just a Draven lane. You just pick Draven. And you're like, you can even just go Draven Nautilus and be like, we got this, it's fine. We have point click CC. You could also play Aphelios Thresh. Jinx, not exactly the same idea.
Jinx is...
I mean, you have a lot of dive and setup to get her excited. You have a lot of CC and she has great follow-up, so when she gets that rapid fire cannon spike, like Jinx Thresh is pretty good. I would have liked the Draven or the Aphelios here
Jinx
if we're going to play
Blitz,
this.
not Blitz. You don't want to play Blitz into Cassante Gragas.
Thresh is amazing for Annie too, because it allows Annie to go super far up and look for CC, and then she can just zip back to the Thresh if it's not looking like it's going to be good. If it's not looking like it's going to work out. So I love this. This is what T1 does in LCK all the time. They played almost exactly this comp last week against D+.
And it's going to be Duro that's playing the Blitzcrank in here. So Zeri Blitzcrank, it is actually an LCK composition.
It's a thing because, like, I think Nautilus would have probably been your next best choice to stop dive, but because Nautilus can hook and root when the dive comes through to hold somebody under turret aggro so that you guarantee trade a kill back. Blitzcrank can kind of do the same thing with his rocket punch, where he knocks somebody up and they can, of course, then grab them to make sure that they're stuck there under the turret.
Hey, Chronicler made it for Game 3.
Hey, what's up? Yeah, I mean, we talked about this earlier. Duro's 3-0 on the Blitzcrank, but it's about, you know, how you're going to try to defend with this Blitzcrank, because the Blitzcrank is not going to have any agency to roam this game. It's not going to be that type of game where you can go around and make impacts mid and try to catch the Annie. And I really like T1's comp better. We basically saw exactly this with the Xin Zhao just a few days ago.
Yeah.
It was Ahri, of course, instead of Annie as well for Faker, but same type of composition where you can set up CC and then blow people up with Jinx, and you have the turn with the Vi, the cannon, you have great 5v5, and there's so many ways to get the Jinx excited in this draft. I love T1, what they put together here.
Yeah, I think, once again, it is challengers, and we have plans in front of us. Maybe not ones as obvious as games 1 and 2. So kind of fun to see a different style of League of Legends played here in game number 3. The fact that Annie did go through is that's kind of a big no-no from Home Life Esports. But let's see if they can play around it, you know, draft a very tanky comp with Zeri and just try to keep the Zeri safe and just look to disrupt their dive with some Blitzcrank hooks. Just don't hook the cannon. Don't do that.
Don't do that.
Pikachu hurts.
Also, like, don't hook Annie.
Well, they might be able to CC her to death.
Sure.
Maybe able to do the same to Kennen, actually. It really depends. Like, their follow-up CC really needs to be on point.
I'm just worried because the coordination for T1 in these fights has been better so far. And HLE have a lot of tools here, but the execution is very hard. And if you fall behind, it becomes basically impossible. And if you were going to play Blitzcrank, you know, for a different type of mid-game, pick a different AD carry. They're playing it defensively here, anti-dive on the bottom side of the map. Wukong isn't going to be able to do anything pre-6. I think T1 have so much agency in all 3 lanes.
Well, here we go, Wolf. Game number 3 right now.
I was a little bit
You
late.
did 5.
Did I?
That was weird.
Did I do 5?
Yeah, you did 5.
Well, at least I got game 2. I got game 2. You know, we go back to game 2. Yeah,
you know,
remember when I did it
game
really
2
well
was
in game
perfect.
2 for the first time ever? And last time apparently. It's okay.
It's good. It's all good.
First strike, Annie. Standard PTA Vi. Lethal
Gragas
tempo.
response.
Yeah.
Standard.
Comet Scorch.
Now we are going to have Conqueror Kennen with the Riftmaker play probably from Dahl up in the top side.
Any cut down enjoyers?
Did he have cut down? I hope he did.
Yeah, he did.
How about Smash? Did he have cut down?
I actually didn't see, but I assume so.
Can someone rewind the YouTube and let us know if he had cut down? Because if he doesn't, that's a mistake.
Well, it's good for the lane. Remember last time we had the 3 damage Viper coup de grace thing? I think that was not great, but this is a different situation. I think it's fine.
Thank you, Yundo.
All right.
He's going to be cutting down some people that have more health than him.
How does Conqueror compare to other Cannon Runes Deer casters? Well, the Conqueror allows you to just bully and actually kind of win these fights straight up against the Cassante, excuse me, where you end up getting these extended trades. When you have level 3, you can actually kind of like all in him and bully him if he tries to keep the lane away from his turret. Whereas if you go for something like a Airy, you're not going to get the same amount of power because you're just harassing anyways, so you don't actually need that. Some matchups where you're under a lot more threat as the Cannon, I think the Airy gives you good trades where you're like, okay, now you can't all in me because I've poked you a little bit, whereas the Conqueror just gives you like dominance here. That's my take.
Yeah, extended trades against the tanks going to feel pretty nice on the top side. Bay is, he did get kind of comboed there. Are we really going to just flash try to combo the Gragas here?
Well, not without stun setup, which Bay does not have, so.
Just waiting for his Q over the wall, I guess.
Perhaps he was scared that Guan was going to come over here and try to get him to flash. But it's going to be fine. Push this lane aggressively now. Picked up some first strike gold. It's going to be the wave pushed in. And they're going to come over here, it looks like maybe, try to ward the blue buff, see if they could catch Guan. At level 3, the Vi with mid-prow here for Annie can be quite strong. As when you have your stun prepped and you set it up, you get a lot of first strike gold onto melee champions who can't fight back, like the Gragas. So Rod of Ages should be done pretty quickly for Bay if this lane does kind of normally continue. And as you can see here, Jinx gets the early call by. We see this all the time. You hold the wave with your support. She comes back to lane, not really losing anything, and just basically bought a big spike in 100 CS time. And we'll be able to get away with it. And you have enough lane control with Jinx Thresh to actually just be able to afford to back like this. And there's no threat with the Zarya, unfortunately, so... Okay, this is interesting. I didn't expect this.
I mean,
there's no ward here.
Could try to get some summoners out of the bottom lane. We do have Guan down here as well. Just placed a ward so they know he's around. How long is the Gambit going to last? How long will Forest stay in the bottom lane? This looks suspicious.
Oh my god, the timing.
The flash play, but he's gonna miss the hook and the flash on in, and it doesn't matter. First blood goes to Bout, which is a little bit unfortunate, but a nice setup here from the T1 bottom side.
Holy hell, man, the timing of that play there with the engage from Forest was beautiful.
He deserved the kill.
I mean, I guess. He didn't even hit the death sentence, but it doesn't matter. Like, that was actually so clean. Why didn't T1 play like this all season?
Yeah, against Halma Life specifically, who they lost to twice.
Yeah, this is like some of the best play we've seen from this roster. Look at the timing of this. Perfect. Hits both with the play. It has Glacial Augment. And they end up targeting down the Blitzcrank here because he was the one who took the brunt of the damage there from Smash. His Lure will survive. If Lure is the one who's caught and dies, if his positioning is worse, if he doesn't have Cleanse, maybe the game is over, actually, because he will lose tons of farm. But still, an early assist to the Jinx who's sitting on Cole feels nice.
Oh, hello. Guan trying to get on in there as we are going to have some dented blows into the Wukong as Bay flashes from the Blitzcrank, who did not have flash. Kind of confusing as Guan can just, oh, nice try, but he will flash away from the hook as Bout was also making his way into mid.
Lots of summoners down here. I would argue that Bay's flash being the most valuable of the ones we saw exchanged there this early in the game, losing that is pretty huge because you're still fairly vulnerable as the Annie. You don't have that long flash engage angle anymore with the Tibbers coming up at level 6.
Life really trying to force this into the enemy jungle.
I actually really like this from Hanwha Life. You know, they have a really good skirmishing comp early on.
They're going to get the Thresh, and that should be enough CC to 100 to 0 him. He is so low and gets hit by a barrel.
Romer still
and
has
down he
ult.
goes. Bay trying to make his way in with the Tibbers. There is the cask, and Boris is going to go down too. Double kill here as T1 filter in 1 by 1. Tibbers not nearly going to be enough damage here with only Catalyst, as that is 3 kills, and one of them fed over to Lure.
When you have a composition like what T1's has, and it's got all the mechanisms, it's got all the mid to late game team fight setups, you've got the Jinx accelerated, you've got this extremely well-oiled machine, what you gotta do is you gotta throw a wrench in there. And that's essentially what HLE are trying to do, which is why I love this, because you got the flash away from Annie, just force these fights, just walk away from the bottom lane. Who cares about the Jinx? She can't come over here and make an impact. Also, the cast being held so long here for Romer, just waiting for anyone who could potentially escape. Gets the kill there. Bay goes down as well. And they even give the kill over to Lure, who was able to get over here without any threat from the Jinx. Like, this is T1 really losing a lot of early game control in this draft that this frankly didn't need to happen. I think a lot of this is down to Bay getting engaged on Duro. Once again on this comfort pick Blitzcrank he hasn't lost on yet. 3-0 on the season. Roams over there, gets a flash early with Guwon, and now a huge tempo advantage for HLE.
Yeah, this is pretty massive. T1 definitely a bit of a mistake in the fight to even just filter in 1 by 1, but at the end of the day, the caster curse is strong. As we were like, hey, these guys are playing so well. They're, you know, they really turned it up here for playoffs, and then all of a sudden they do that. And Hanwha Life Esports needs to get some credit for the very nice play that they set up, but definitely a little bit of a mistake. So this is going to make things a little bit more interesting in this series.
Yeah, it certainly will. Oh, I still think T1 have a compositional edge, and I still think they have a significant draft edge, but when Bay is no longer pushing Romer out of lane and getting perma prio, when the Cassante is holding his own top side and the Zeri is caught up, that's a lot of that gold that we were talking about the Cole is going to get you kind of mitigated in terms of the lead there. Zeri having a faster rush towards that first item is going to be significant for these upcoming team fights. And we do once again have 2 relatively weak Drakes here to start, Cloud and the Ocean that was taken from T1, so probably going to be a highly impactful soul here. HLE
Or just Chemtech.
Don't. I said probably.
Hey,
I said
Ox is in
probably.
the chat. He's lurking, you know, he's watching the games. And guess what? It's going to be Chemtech. It's just the way it goes.
I can't argue with you. I can't argue with you because
The only souls we get are Chemtech or Hextech. That's it.
the newer Drakes that Riot recently added to the game. Coincidence?
I think not. Cassante's in the game.
Cassante's in the game. Annie recently changed and buffed. Jinx recently buffed.
Yeah.
Kennen also buffed. Wait a minute.
Dahl just gonna flash. He's like, no, not playing with this Cassante. Do not care. I am here to farm and build a Rift Maker. That is it. That is my job. Will not be fighting you. But that is flashed down now for Dahl.
Yeah.
Seems like T1 have kind of accepted that they lost the early game now, and they're just like, okay, let's sit back and try to farm it up.
It is going to be the Rift Maker Conqueror Kennen, which is extremely strong in team fights. Stack that up and actually basically be not unkillable, but it's very difficult to kill the Kennen, and he will actually survive through some of those CCs that they have, that HLE have to try to catch him, like the Q3 from the Cassante, the Cyclone, and just be able to kind of heal his way through that. Leeching Lear going to be nice in the lane early, and he's almost got his call completed. As once again, HLE looking for a pick on the Bay, and Bay's just like, as you said, we lost the early game. I'm just farming under turret now. My Rod of Ages was accelerated, and now it's slowed down a little bit, and I'm just going to farm until I get it. As this means that HLE, bit of a heavy group here, won't lead to anything. Let's head back to lanes.
Yeah, I'd like them to try to push their advantage. Like, Bay is literally hugging turret mid. He doesn't exist. Like, maybe he can TP to bot if you dive in, like, I guess 40 or 50 seconds on that TP, but before that comes up, you know, take away the vision on the bottom side of the jungle and look for a dive bot. I think you have some good angles.
They are going to, potentially here, but without the Gragas, unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult to set it up.
Well, here comes Romer now, but they're a little bit hesitant about this. Now, they are setting up to try to potentially zone
They
them
don't
off
have a
this bottom
wave,
turret, I
though.
guess. Yeah, this is not, like, you can
It's
see
poorly
the
executed,
intent,
yeah.
but what's going on?
It has to be a lot more coordinated. You have to do this with a wave coming through, which means Gragas is going to struggle. Okay, it's going to be a clone. Gragas is going to struggle in these moments to get that wave control in mid while you have the same timing of wave control bottom. You have to crash 2 waves and then come over for the dive. And they were being hovered by Forest, like he was down there on the bottom side. They had the control ward set up to actually look for this. And again, if you actually come with the good timing where Roamer isn't going to lose farm, even if you don't kill anybody, you can zone them away from farm at least and maybe pick up some plate gold. And everything you were saying is definitely correct. I think they should push their advantage further, but a little bit miscoordinated. Now, once again, trying to set up for something in mid. This is going to push Bay away. He has TP. He's going to just back off now. See if he can complete his rod. I don't think he should have enough money. Depends on how much first strike gold he's stacked.
Yep. Only P-Sports still have this Rift Herald, so they can just drop this in mid.
He did get it.
Yep. There is the rod completed for Bay. 11.5 minutes. And some plate gold here to Roamer and to Guwon. And T1 say, well, cool story. We are not going to fight. We are just going to farm. That's it. Very different feel from games 1 and 2.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I don't think this 1,000 gold lead is enough to make me feel comfortable about HLE's chances in this game.
Oh.
This
No.
makes me feel better, however.
However,
Missing the Q. Gets the stun there, gets the more extended trade, but he didn't get it. And, like, the kills that we saw in that early game fight where HLE were able to pick up 3 in that kind of trickle from T1. 2 of them go to a Gragas, who's building Rod, so not a huge lead there. 1 goes to Lure, helps him catch up, but it's not like HLE could snowball. They got map control, but they weren't able to set up any of those dives, so...
I think they're going to give the Drake and look for a pick on bot. Especially because Someone Like Esports doesn't look like they're actually committing to any bot side plays themselves as a team. So, well, I say that here comes Guwon. Might have a little bit of a 3-on-3 down here as Smash and Bout playing very far forward. The flash on in, they're trying to 100-0 him, but the damage is not focused as down will go Forest. And they don't end up killing anyone, as meanwhile on the top side, Rooster just gonna solo kill.
I'm gonna need a replay of that one. I'm gonna need a replay of that one.
Yeah,
that
should be dead, I'd imagine. Yeah, Tibbers as down.
He's gonna die.
Yeah, he should be dead. Right. Down he goes. Bay gonna pick up that kill. As meanwhile, a full free turret in mid.
Yeah, so I mean, like this is, you got the kill top side, but you're gonna lose a whole turret for it. They engaged into a Cyclone on the bottom side. And obviously they didn't know that Guwon was there, but it was one of those who's trapping whom kind of moments where you're trying to set up for this play. He should still get it on the next wave. Oh, I thought you were saying no about the turret not going down, but in this case about a possible canceled TP, which would have been horrible. Yeah, let's see what happens here. Slicing Maelstrom was used, we know this. Okay, gets Q3'd and then pulled back into the minions. The minions actually win this fight. As he flashes, it gets the slow as well. Another
really
one.
Close.
Like, it was actually insanely close. He almost won that. Conqueror value, not enough though.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, he does die, but it pulls Bay out of lane, and look at this turret. Mid-tier 1 is so valuable, and it's almost gone.
Yeah.
So you can see the gold is still relatively even, and it is Mountain Soul, which is going to heavily favor the insane amount of tanky big boys on the side of Humble AF Esports. T1 will try to deny those, but I'm not sure that they can.
It's also pretty significant versus HLE's comp too. Like it's Mountain Soul's basically good with anything, but yeah, like you say, it's way better with the Cassante and the Wukong in this case. So they're gonna look for second Herald here. That should guarantee a turret topside, you have to imagine. And if they are able to secure it, it looks like they will. Mid-turret's still alive, but it is definitely going to be first brick for HLE when they just get a mini-wave to take it. Looks like they have that right now in mid. In fact, it's just going to be Lure who comes over and cues it. And that is the end of that. I goes over. I mean, T1, these are the kind of games I expect to see today. Where it's like, like HLE's early game plan is good. They got it ahead. T1 kind of messed up the early game a little bit. They were too aggressive, but they're going to win the late game team fights. And I think that's still possible here, but HLE getting more and more incremental advantages. Their snowballing has been their biggest win condition all season long, and for the first time in the series, they actually get it done. It wasn't looking like it was going to be that way until those 3 kills mid. And they've been able to push a lot of map control, a lot of early turrets going down. Like I mentioned, the top turret goes down with that Herald. The mid turret went down. They got first brick. Zeri's picked up a lot of money. It's going to be about the execution later on, but chances are feeling the best they have felt this entire best of 5 so far.
We do have the Atlas Redemption angle, where maybe we do get some actual League of Legends where T1 don't just get to invade and win level 1 and win the game. And Hololive Esports maybe with the reverse sweep angle, as these Mountain Drakes, every single one of them, going to be critical. You cannot let this go over to the side of Hololive Esports, but T1 from behind will be interesting to see how they do. As Hex flash over the wall, and they're trying to gank a Cassante. The timing of it is nice.
They
see
have
if it
no
works out.
TP for Roamer. He's almost got it, but not in time.
There's the stuns, trying to 100-0 him as, yep, taking a ton of damage. Down he goes. Very nicely done. A 4-man dive in the top lane.
And let's see what HLE can get done cross-map here. Not a whole lot, actually. It should be a turret going over. The bottom turret is high health. This mid turret is going to take a lot of damage. Dahl does have ult. Thought maybe he would actually commit, but he does not, so never mind. And no one is going bottom, so Roamer, like I said, this turret's very healthy, but it's not going to actually end up... He will still end up doing a lot of damage to it, and he's going to get back to TP, so... They got the inner, but they lose a top turret and lose a TP. And T1 just getting what is essentially an even trade here in the game they're behind in for free. Feels pretty nice for them.
When is LCK playoffs? That's tomorrow, actually, starting off with KT versus Live Sandbox.
Yes.
Yep. Today is Challenger Day. Today and yesterday. Challenger playoffs. Tomorrow starts LCK playoffs. Wednesday, Thursday, then Saturday and Sunday. Should be fun.
KT did pick Live Sandbox, as we all expected, and it's going to be a fun one tomorrow to see what Live Sandbox brings, because they've had some extra days to get ready. Are
T1 just going to give this up?
Yeah, I mean,
that...
On one hand, I don't like it, but on the other hand, you don't have any ult. You know, you lost a lot of map control from your play top side, so HLE... There's just no vision here. Walking into HLE's comp with Blitzcrank, Gragas, Wukong that they just straight up face planted on in the last bottom side exchange. I feel a little bit nervous about this. You're just trying to scale up to a position where your Jinx has rapid fire cannon, and then you're like looking for fights. Even without vision, you can kind of walk towards them and get ready. But Kennen, I think in this game too, with the Rift Maker and the current game state for T1, you're going to need some flank wards. Like, Kennen is going to need to be flanking. He's not just going to be running at the team and flash ulting. He's going to need to find some backline access on this Zeri, which is very mobile. And he can't break through the front line very easily in this comp. I mean, I've been saying this for a while. I think the Kennen priority is just way too high right now in Korea. You know, he's very good. His Q does a lot of damage. He's good for lane, but team fighting isn't guaranteed. His Rooster is once again going to be dope.
Yeah, I think this time he's got a better chance, but will it be good enough? Flash hook as in goes Tibbers. Bait is committing, and it's not really going to amount to too much. They will be able to get this bottom turret, though. Kind of like what T1 are doing, looking for picks in this manner, but we'll see if it gets them enough gold to catch up in this game. Their Kennen is in a really good spot, but...
I like this if Bay doesn't flash Tibbers there. Then I'm like, okay, yeah, this is actually really good. Like, you've got a turret, you force them away. But now your flash is down on your Annie. And that means for the next objective fight, similar to the last one, you will not have this amazing engage tool. Now you will potentially have a rapid fire cannon, depending on how much money Smash can pick up here in the interim, which gives you that spike I was talking about where you are looking for those picks. But it's good, but is it good enough is the question you were asking, basically. And I want to say no right now because that flash was used. If you didn't use it, it's basically free. You didn't lose anything, but...
Yeah. It does kind of worry me that Hololive Esports are essentially handshaking the situation. Now, yes, they do have a Zeri, and they do have this massive, thick ball of coverage for the Zeri, but against the Jinx, anything can happen in the late game, and I feel like, you know, with this lead that they had from the early game, I would have liked to see a little bit more, you know, some proactive little plays, maybe try to take out some more turrets, maybe try to, you know, get some vision here on the Baron, which it seems like T1 were expecting this as well, but, you know, they do get the vision, but they're not really, they're just kind of hanging out as well. They're kind of handshaking the situation and saying, okay, we're going to have a Zeri fed, and we're going to beat you in the late game.
Yeah, I think that it's hard when your Cassante is dove like that to do anything but just push a turret. Remember, the mid turret also went down. Like, a lot of teams would have pushed the inner in that situation, but it was already killed. So it's hard to, like, find anything because all the objectives are so far away. There's no Drake, which makes that play from T1 a lot stronger in a lot of ways. Again, they don't flash because HLE can't punish back. But the question becomes, will HLE be able to, as looks like Rooster might threaten this turret, just going to use it to deny some farm. HLE, will they actually have cryo on this Drake? Will they have wards set up in the vision that's needed to prevent T1 from collapsing in and taking them out? It's actually Runen's second, by the way, for Smash. I wasn't really paying attention to the build, but he actually went that instead of the rapid fire cannon. Can't say I'm a huge fan of this, actually. I get the idea where you have the big AoE stun from the Annie, the follow-up cannon ult, and then you do a ton of damage to those targets, but I would have liked the rapid fire cannon because I think getting picks is more realistic here for your composition. Yeah, getting excited, and I would have actually liked that a lot more. I mean, I don't hate it, but I definitely am surprised and not in a good way. So we'll see how this pans out. Because that's like the spike that you could have had with Rapid Fire Cannon on this Drake fight, where HLE have map control. There's nothing you're going to be able to do about that in the next 80 seconds to stop them. And without that Rapid Fire Cannon, just walking at HLE and hoping for that fight is so much harder when you don't have the vision to look for that setup stun. And Dahl doesn't have teleport wards and flank wards to come in and set up for a big slicing Maelstrom. So we'll see how this fight goes. I think it's going to be really pivotal. If HLE just get this Drake for free, their position in this game is almost guaranteed. If T1 can force something, maybe they can get back control of this game, take Baron, get all that standing gold that's all over the map with these inners. This is a really important fight.
Somebody asked why prioritize the Cosmic Drive when there is a Mountain Drake and Merc Treads and all this MR on the side of Homelite Esports. I mean, the item is fantastic on Kennen, so I think that's one reason. I guess the other reason is you just got to kill the Zeri. So kill the Zeri or lose, basically. And you're going to have to try to get into the backline. You're going to have to try to get some nice flanks as Dahl. Otherwise, you know, a little bit of extra damage to the tanks. Maybe you can peel through for the Jinx, but I think you can wait until like a third, fourth item in the late game scenario when you're going to be looking for those kinds of plays.
I completely agree. I actually think it's really good here. The speed is going to be really important to get the additional, to make sure you get that guaranteed lockdown on the Zeri. That's your hope. And he already has Sork Shoes, which is going to be fairly helpful, and he should be able to build Void Staff third here. And the game is going to go later. So it's not like he doesn't have this for this big fight here. T1 just going to give this, though. And this I am concerned about, because now HLE gets to say, you have to fight me here no matter what. T1 could have looked for a skirmish here and maybe tried to force something, because T1's not getting any cross map. They're not getting any inners here. They weren't able to get the mid turret. You give this up, you don't get anything. And now HLE get to say, you have to fight for the next Drake or you lose the game. And if you can't wrestle vision control away with a team fight that we're not going to give you in the next 5 minutes, you're going to walk into the same situation where you don't have vision for your setup. I think that T1 should have just grouped mid. We played the K-Ram exchange there to try to force their way in, because this was a better fight they could have taken than I think what the next fight is going to look like.
Yeah, continue looking for picks. Try to use your Annie and your Thresh and your Vi and stuff like that. So maybe you get a pick and maybe you pick up a Mountain Drake from that scenario. They're not that far behind to the point where they just cannot fight. There are still angles for them to potentially get it. As somebody asked, is T1 just waiting to lose? I mean, no, but they're just waiting for the late game, basically. So they're going to say, okay, we're going to give them some little wins, which could turn into big wins, to be honest. And just trust and Smash for the late game carry.
And when I see this armor pen coming through here for Smash, like, again, you have to kill this Cassante somehow. You have to kill this Wukong somehow. And there's a big front line here. But it makes me wonder if T1, like, we were looking at this draft and I was looking at, oh, this is a beautiful draft. Like, there's so many ways for Jinx to get excited. There's so many picks. Ways to set up picks and stuff like we've been talking about this entire game. But when I see the Runen second into what I assume is going to be LDR, I'm like, do you understand what your comp was designed to do, or did you just listen to the coaches and then go into the game and now you're like, I got to do big damage, I got to wipe this team fight, I'm going to carry. And Smash, he will carry. Like, he's the carry type player. He's incredibly good. Like, he and Pays have a very similar play style where early mid, you're like, he's going to do great. But in the late game, he's going to be amazing, right? His positioning in team fights is fantastic. But I don't think this comp is going to give you enough AoE setup where you're just going to pop off with Runens, because HLE are not going to group for Kennen Ultimate. They're not going to get grouped for a Flash Tibbers or anything like that. And the more this game goes on, the more confident I become that HLE just kind of have this on lock, because it's a very passive game, only 8 kills, and HLE are making all the right choices to slow the game down. Their Zarya is getting stronger and more relevant. Their Gragas is even becoming more relevant here. The front line they have is so fantastic, and their comp is so easy to pilot. It's like T1 is going to be fishing, and sometimes you come up empty, right? And without vision control, which T1 can't get without a fight that they win, which they could have opted into, I worry. I mean, this is what you have to do. You have like no vision on the map. You're Jinx ulting to see if they're on Baron. That's why HLE, in my mind, is like winning this game so hard. This T1 just aren't doing anything proactive to get that vision. And we're now 2.5 minutes away from that critical Drake.
I mean, I still think there is an angle in the late game, especially, you know, we did kind of highlight how T1 does have some pretty good team fighting, and if the Jinx does get excited, anything can happen. But, you know, bit by bit, we watch the objectives fall into the hands of Home Life Esports, and those team fights get more and more difficult.
Oh, but HLE is going to start Baron now. This is actually crazy, and T1 are like totally out of position, trying to get through this choke point.
Well, somebody's got to check. It's going to be Forrest. He's going to get hooked, and he looks to be dead as the cast comes in, and actually he will survive. His
TP in the middle of nowhere.
Doll's like, ah!
That's not the flank TP I was talking about, and they just walked into a choke point against this HLE comp because they have no vision.
Yeah, somebody's got to check, but this is...
Somebody has to check, but like you should have been doing, when you had topside control with your cannon, you should have warded. And yeah, someone asked in the chat about the rocket damage to monsters. It was buffed up to 1200 now, I believe. And it's going to be better for steals, but that's not your game plan.
Okay, well, that was pretty messy, but somehow here in Challengers, we stopped them from doing the Baron. I feel like Home Life could have just taken the Baron.
Oh,
after they forced Forrest to flash and Q away, you could have just said, okay, we're going to just take the Baron. Instead, Home Life Esports say, you know what? Let's give them more time.
Well, that's the playoff. That's the playoff angle, right? That's the best of 5, 0-2. You're like, what if we lose this fight? Like, what if we mess this up? What if we're too greedy here? Let's just play more safe. But ironically, this was a less safe move actually, and now T1 get to have a fight here where they are going to have a little bit of map control. Like, there's no vision. There's no vision on the Drake either. T1 wrapping around here. I think HLE have messed this up. We've lost control of the map.
Yeah, it's a little bit worrisome here, the position for HLE, but let's see if they can slowly pull back some vision as Forrest steps onto a barrel.
Doll has flash Maelstrom here, so they need to track where he is. They know he's missing top. He was just recently there. The Scuttle Crab has faded.
They're kind of like getting
him wrapping around. He's actually taking the long way around because he knows about this control ward. See the ping there? They ping that ward, so he knows that it's there. He's actually going to take the long way around. Okay, well, or did they?
I don't...
Oh my god,
well, it seems like they have an idea, and they're playing it very carefully.
There's a ward ping there, so I think they know, and they're just going to hide.
Yeah.
Good check from Rooster.
The Mountain Rift actually... makes this even more annoying. There's like so many extra rocks and little things here. As Lure's just gonna go over and solo a Mountain Soul.
This is smart. Now, if T1 realize this, if they realize this, they can actually just start the Baron. But during this neutral fight, it's really good for HLE.
Here comes Lure. He's pulling off of it, wanting to go for the 5v5 as the hook comes in. Now they look for the turn. They try to blow him up, and they do. Duro is down. As another hook comes in, Rooster is alone. Where's the follow-up from Home Life? Finally, Lure gets over.
He's here.
We do have a front line, but that front line is getting ripped to shreds by Doll. They take out the Gragas, and T1 find a 2-for-1, and maybe they can go for the Baron now.
This is a risky Baron call, but there's no Wukong ultimate. Guan is super low. It looks like he's just going to look for the steal angle here. They need this area to do damage. TP in the pit.
Oh, they're just going to flip it. Here comes Guan. Let's see if it goes, and it goes to the Annie. Annie picks it up, and that should be a double kill. Yes, it will be, as a rocket follows. The Jinx with 3 items is excited, and T1 take the Baron.
And now they can just push mid here and take out multiple turrets. There's so much gold on the map for T1 to take. They can split off Forrest to do the Drake solo while they get 2 turrets here, so they're going to get so much money here. It's just a solo Drake, but it is going to be 5 more minutes of time here. In HLE, they have the spawns coming through. They're not going to lose an inhibitor or anything like this, but this is a massive win, and it is going to be finally, for the first time in what feels like forever, map control going back from the hands of T1 in their composition that is so reliant on it in order to set up picks. And T1, they were able to wrestle vision control away here. And look at how strong T1's comp is from the turn, from the defense, where they actually have vision. Like, with the whole game, they've been blind, but the first time HLE for just a second gives them control over an objective, they're like, yeah, we will take this, and we will start it, and we will turn, and that's exactly what they did. Lure almost with an angle to pop off here, but there's just too many threats, especially the cannon, which stuns him, forces out his cleanse. He's not confident to continue on because his front line is done. Guro is so low, or Guwon, excuse me, is so low.
And that's why, up until this moment, we were like, and yeah, we get this crazy flip where Annie hits a Q as the smite comes in early. So, you know, it's crazy. Like, T1 had already won the fight. There was a chance that HLE Esports were going to steal it and then die and then have, like, 2 Baron buffs. But, like, T1 were given inch by inch, a little bit of extra time, a little bit of extra time. HLE Esports could not quite put the nail in the coffin. And we were talking about this the entire lull state, the entire 10-15 minutes where nothing was happening and HLE didn't take the Baron, they didn't get the soul. Let's see if they can take the fight. The fight is pretty good here as the Timbers and the Maelstrom layered on top of each other are just massive. Guys, I think we got another team into round 2 of playoffs. T1 take out 4, and they will push with Baron to try to end.
Oh, definitely going to be endable here. As Guwon looked for the flash engage, but they went straight into a Cannon Annie. And that is going to be the end of the series. HLE just not clutch when it counts most, as Rooster is going to flash the cupcake and go down.
T1 is going to take this round of the playoffs in a 3-0 fashion. Unbelievable.
Only one person predicted this outcome. He's sitting right next to me.
It was like a meme thread. I'm like, there's no way this actually happens in Challengers, but it did. T1 get a couple of draft wins in 2 games, and then they just outplay the late game against HLE. They outplay that kind of slow macro game.
The coaching
there were
staff
angles for HLE to win this one, but they just did not.
Yeah, the coaching staff comes out, and I think this was one of those games where it's better preparation, better coaching staff, just a overall better setup going into this best of 5. The preparation was better. The systems in place for T1, which have been, you know, this way. They've been basically the best setup team coaching-wise across multiple esports for the last decade.
Watch this again. Yeah. Watch the countering.
So Flash goes in, and it hits the backline here, but Cask hits, doesn't matter. Slicing Maelstrom on the counter engage here, Dahl is like, yeah, well, who cares if you cast me away? Like, the idea is really good here for HLE in terms of what you think is going to happen if you cast that cannon out. But he's just so fast. He's able to come back in there and take you out.
Yeah, I think he has.
Oh, I guess we should vote for him too. I guess there is still a vote for game 3.
We do have to vote. Yeah.
If you're listening, top.
Yeah.
I think some people will vote for mid as well in this game. I think that's a reasonable vote. But I think some of the mistakes that were made from Bay pushed me away from it.
I
went top.
I don't think I want to vote for Bay in this game. I'm gonna go top as well. Yeah.
But
that early game was just a little bit rough.
This is one of those moments where, like,
Bout. Oh man, maybe it was Bout. The hooks were really good.
They were good, but
I mean, at the same time though, they had vision. Like, it was pretty straightforward. Like, it was a good play, but he was kind of like doing solid thresh plays rather than like carrying the game, you know. This is
kind of, it feels like a special moment for me, Valdez, where you and I had the same read on this game, on how it was going to go and how Smash was probably going to carry. T1 is going to be better on objectives. Their fundamentals were going to be better. We know all 10 of these players now, and it's a moment where I look at this and like my predictions going into the series, my feelings about the series, I'm like, you know what? We're challengers casters now. Like, we actually know these teams. We know these players. Like, a lot of this season, I spent time thinking like, I'm still trying to get a grasp of what these teams like, what they're doing, what they're good at. But like, it's taken time, and we split the games between both casters. No desk over here or anything like that. And I'm like trying to study some of these VODs and catch up on stuff. But I feel like this is the first year as I walked in being like, I think I know exactly what these teams are probably going to do, and it ends up working out almost exactly like we felt. And like, the strengths and weaknesses of both these teams were their success for T1 and the demise, unfortunately, of HLE. Game 3, they snowballed like they always do. They got those early leads, but then they get to the late game and can't make the same sort of good decisions as T1, who came way better prepared.
It's crazy how that late game scenario played itself out. Like, T1 actually, it was like they read how they were going to play it, and I still think that HLE could have just burst down the Baron. You zoned away the enemy jungle. T1 were giving it away. They backed. Like, Jinx shot another rocket, thinking like, okay, maybe if they're not doing Baron now, like maybe if they're doing it now, maybe I can steal it late if they turned onto it after. But no, HLE just backed, and they're like, let's reset. And
will
Dahl's
get
going
it.
to pick it up. I think Bout's probably going to get a lot of votes. We don't know like about the votes or whatever, but Dahl, after going 0-10 on Scion, and that being a key part of their Game 1 and Game 2 drafting, he gets the victory in the POG
When you
in
see
Game 3.
And when you see 2 Rockets coming through from Smash in this game where they have no vision of Baron whatsoever, no real vision in the jungle, like he's checking while also potentially looking for a steal, but he's also like, they could be hiding in the jungle in any of these areas towards the Baron, so he's checking in that line to see. But that basically means T1 had given up Baron. They're like, they're getting it, we're not contesting, it's not going to happen, let's
like
push.
10% health,
Yeah.
no flash.
And they basically said, I'm giving up Baron, and it was after that that HLE were like, wait, they're giving up Baron, but like you missed your window actually, and it was so transparent that T1 had no control of the map and their comp wasn't going to work unless they could set up on objectives first, and that was the turning point in this game. And I think once again, HLE's not quite realizing what their draft needed to do in that moment. And I think T1, I didn't like the build on the Jinx, ultimately not relevant at all in this game. So this means that we do have D+, of course, and T1 going into this bracket now.
Who do you think DRX choose? I think it's actually difficult.
I think I choose D+ here because the preparation we saw T1 brought in the series was actually insanity.
It's kind of like a weird wild card, kind of scary. It's like T1 are the dark horse. They're lower rated compared in the regular season, but they came out with this like these crazy strategies. Humble Life didn't know how to deal with it. And maybe you say, okay, we know how to deal with it. We saw it. We're going to ban Scion, or we're going to have something better prepared. We're not going to first pick Ashe on blue side, blah, whatever. So maybe you pick T1 in that sense, but DK also almost lost to Notion.
Yeah,
So.
I think you pick DK because their peak is really high, but we haven't seen that in a really long time. Thinking about it though, like KT versus T1, that like I would have been like KT easy win, right? Like it's not even going to be close. But now I'm watching this and I'm like, maybe KT 3-2, like if that matchup happens. But I think it's going to be really exciting because KT also has really good drafting and really good
double telecom war. That'll be fun.
In like the opposite sides of the bracket, basically. This being the lower part of round 2, and then not the like lower part of the bracket, but like it's the lower part of the bracket, just not a loser's bracket. So KT versus T1 there, and then in the upper, potentially if T1 picks KT, if KT beat Live Sandbox tomorrow. A lot of people are saying they think that T1 will pick D+ in the LCK, so we'll have to wait and see. I'm of the opinion that they'll pick KT Rollster myself, but it could happen on both sides of challenges and LCK.
You don't know. I'm kind of on the same page, I think, as DRX. I don't know, though. DK's peak is quite scary. What if they peak at the wrong time and then you have to go into the lower bracket as DRX? Like, DRX versus DK, if they're both at like 100%, it's probably a 5-gamer. You know, it's probably a close series. So
let's also think about this.
Scary.
Split round 2 MVP, Pleta, right, for DRX. He played in the LCK. Would you rather play against Strong Link Smash on T1, who's their best player, or would you rather play against Rahel, who's the weakest player on D+?
Yeah,
with Pleta. I'm like,
let's choose DK. Yeah,
I think they're gonna pick DK.
Yeah,
that's my thoughts. But we'll see. We'll find out.
There's a lot of I wouldn't call it conjecture, but basically like predictions on what everybody thinks who's going to pick who and what's going to happen in the brackets. We actually do have that Pog State episode coming out. I think it should be tonight, right? Before Wednesday.
Yeah, it should be tonight. Probably in like
5 hours?
Yeah, about 4 hours and 5 hours and 15 minutes or so.
Yeah, so 5 hours and 15 minutes. We should have the next episode of Pog State where we do talk about the LCK bracket. Very in depth.
Yeah, like way too in depth.
Way too much.
Like you guys might skip through parts of it because it's like, did they really release a 6-hour Pog State episode? I'm like, yeah, we did. No, it's not quite 6 hours, but it's almost 6 hours.
It was pretty long. So, yeah.
Now there is a chance that during this interview, DRX calls Kespa and actually makes their selection.
Yeah.
And if that happens, we will let you guys know. But keep your eyes tuned on like the official LCK CL Instagram and stuff like that, where these types of things are normally posted.
Pick MIG Frost.
Pick MIG Frost.
That's a good choice.
We recorded it after the show on Sunday.
Yeah. welcome to our lives. This is C4 right now. We're doing C4. If you guys have any questions, let us know. We thought this was a really hype series, so we wanted to actually like be a little bit more serious. Let us know what you guys think. We didn't kind of do like the super memery challenger thing today, but
Yeah, like for me,
still trying to read the chat and get some thoughts from you guys as well.
yeah, for me, like Valdez and I thought as a duo today, we wanted to bring like a little bit more serious playoff energy, but also still interact with you guys and like do more of like what is essentially what we do in a regular season LCK game level of like for fun, but also for serious. And like, don't worry, when we go back to summer season and regular season, it's going to be all memes all the time.
Why is Blue Smite popular instead of green?
It depends on what the enemy comp is and how much CC they have, generally speaking.
Yeah, consider like a Wukong. Generally, your job is to get in position to Cyclone. That's it. You don't really need to be tanky. Like, you're going to survive if you're knocking them up. So you want to get the knock up. You want to make sure you get the knockups rather than that. Now, obviously other junglers, it would matter. But for Vi as well, like, you're just trying to burst out of the brush and get the engage.
Sejuani
and get the 100 to 0. So
only red smite champion right now is basically Maokai in this meta. And then sometimes you'll see green smite on Wukong because he wants to actually be able to fight in the longer fight with the Cyclone. But
imagine wanting to fight.
I think everyone's kind of realized that basically having blue smite means that you have Moby boots. Like you're like all over the map. Like, you can
the speed is insane.
It's crazy because it helps you engage, but more than that, it helps you go from mid to top, etc. Like in the mid game.
So we got a couple of questions. Where do I listen to the Pog State? I think the easiest one is YouTube, but it's basically anywhere where there is a podcast where you can get podcasts. So I think it's like also on Spotify and like iTunes and like all these other crazy places. So
you just Google Pog State episode 49. That's the most recent one we did. The one that we did last time is episode 50, actually. So if you don't watch it, like if you can't watch it tonight, you're gonna go to sleep or whatever, and you're gonna wake up tomorrow. Just Google Pog State episode 50. And it'll come out on YouTube first, but all the other things will show up too.
Why does Korea love Gnar? That was actually answered by Pandemonium. Watch Zays play Gnar and you'll understand. That is the answer. No, he's just always safe, and he's both safe in lane and can play pretty much any matchup, but also has fantastic flexibility, which is why you see him in so many different metas, basically. He can do so many different things.
If your spacing is good, you basically win any melee matchup, or at least go even. And, like, he can, if he gets ahead, too, like even from behind, he does great things with his ultimate, right? Even if he has to sacrifice himself. But from ahead, he becomes a second 80 carry, which is just crazy what he can do in team fights. So,
and then you engage, and you get, like, a massive Gnar ult, which has been, let me read here, also made great highlight reels. Yes, it is a highlight creating ability because it's so strong. So the flexibility to go back and forth and do so many things makes him viable in so many different metas. He's very safe in the lane, and that is basically why. All-Pro, when does All-Pro usually come out?
Usually All-Pro comes out in the week leading up to the finals. So I imagine it's going to be before the loser finals. So maybe on, like, I'd say, like I need to look up the others. I'm looking at the wrong schedule.
April 8th?
Yeah, maybe somewhere like April 6th to April 8th, like somewhere in there.
Ish.
Let's see.
Wolf, what do you think is the best team in the world?
Somewhere between second
and that for him. T1.
Second and 6th. Yeah, thanks, Valdez.
How do you remember almost ability names as casters? Well, I'm actually
don't.
not that good at it. Atlas is the best because back in the day, Riot actually wanted us to like use ability names, and they kind of push that. Nowadays, they don't really tell us.
I think they prefer it, but like
they
we
definitely
don't have to.
prefer it. But now, especially now, there's like 160 champions. It's pretty rough. But Atlas is definitely the best at that. Who's the best champion of the patch?
Weirdly,
Annie?
Yeah. Well, I would say Annie or Lee Sin. Weirdly,
well, Lee Sin is the one that always makes it through bans. So, but he is very contested, and sometimes he does get banned. But some of the other picks, like Annie, they just 100% ban in the LCK. So, like that is very high contest rate or presence rate.
I do think we don't know yet, but I haven't heard anything otherwise yet. But you guys will definitely be the first to know. I think Viego is still disabled in the LCK.
GM said all pro results are coming out tomorrow. I guess that's possible.
It is
They do
possible,
have
but
all
the
the
timing
results.
is unusual.
Yeah.
Could happen.
Is Sejuani not relevant anymore? She's definitely still relevant.
But I think the Viego still being disabled is something that will make Lee Sin be banned every game tomorrow. And we saw in this series, like it did eventually get banned, but made a huge impact in some of these drafts. So that's something to look out for. I think Annie's going to be banned in every game in the LCK as well. I don't know who would be third behind like Annie and Lee Sin in terms of best champion, in terms of you got to prio pick this. Varus, maybe?
I mean, if it's hard to look at the bans and like the pick ban from challengers and really get a read,
Yeah.
but Elise gets banned like every game as well. Well, a lot of games, but also recently in the last week, she kind of fell through some drafts, so maybe not her.
Viego is disabled until the bug is hot fixed, so it could be re-enabled at any point when it is fixed. But it will probably be either all or none of the playoffs.
Has the confirmation. Thank you, Lunel. All
Okay,
pros
so they
coming
are
out
coming
tomorrow.
That's kind of a weird. That's kind of weird timing, but very.
DRX just T1. I don't
quick.
know. We don't know yet.
DRX picked T1.
Oh,
okay,
they did. Well,
that is
interesting. Do you think that's a mistake, Wolf?
I don't like it. I think KT likes it a lot. I think KT is very happy.
Yeah, as KT, you should feel very safe into DK, I would imagine.
I just don't see any world where you watch the performance we saw from D+ yesterday, then watch this T1 game and go, I'm taking T1.
Yeah.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. that in a way, I know this is a very basic way of thinking about it, but that's also saying that you think that Nongshim is much stronger than Hanwha Esports.
Yeah.
Because you're saying that T1 had an easier time to get the 3-0, so you rate them lower compared to Nongshim, who had a harder time against a better team in Nongshim, which I don't think is the case at all. And what you said about the bot lane, I think, is very relevant. Like, we even saw in this game where, yeah, Lure is a fantastic AD carry, but still they weren't quite able to play that late game kind of AD carry style against T1, where Smash was just able to play Jinx and have a fantastic team fighting frontline. So that's going to be a really awesome match, though. DRX versus T1.
Yeah.
That should be a lot of fun.
This is our 3-0 here. I do expect that we will have the official confirmation on the broadcast as well here, but we'll see. But I'm going to trust what was said in chat on the Korean broadcast.
You know, said it.
Yeah, that's as official as it gets.
That's the stamp right there.
Yeah.
And Luna, with a very good point, want to get the results out before playoffs so that people don't rage when.
I think that's actually reasonable. Yeah, that's reasonable. You guys will be able to see publicly who we voted for in All Pro tomorrow. Then, and it'll be very fun. See who gets it. I think it's going to be T1 across the board for the first team. As yep, here's the confirmation. DRX chose T1, and KT will play against D+. KT is like awesome. I'll see T1 on the other side of the bracket in round 3.
I guess maybe in the minds of the teams, they still feel like I was saying before, like DK's peak, their 100 out of 100 is still extremely strong. Like, it is crazy the skill of some of those individual players, especially the top side of the map. But as you said, we just haven't seen that. And like, what are the chances that they just snap their fingers and show up in the round 2 after what we saw in round 1? I guess it's pretty unlikely, Wolf.
Yeah, I guess that this is going to be the matchup on Monday, DRX versus T1. I guess maybe you're thinking that you're going to win the jungle matchup here because Forest is somewhat of a weak link for T1. Could see that, I guess.
Yeah, but Dahl had a masterful performance today.
Yeah, I just don't
it as well.
I don't know about this one, Valdez.
I'm
not feeling good about it for DRX. But look, DRX is on a tear right now, and they did win everything leading up to this. So maybe we're just because we haven't watched
it.
Yeah, maybe we watched DK and Nongshim yesterday, and we watched T1 stomp HLE, who had a weak performance today, and we're like really having a lot of recency bias here.
Yeah, it's possible that DRX just smashed T1, and they're like, well, we just wanted to knock him out, and they're just really confident.
If DRX just sent in before the playoff bracket, like, I'll take whoever wins between T1 and HLE, that's what I would have done as well. I would have been like, well, I'm not dealing with Nongshim, I'm not dealing with D+. Just give me whoever wins the other side. But after watching these and choosing it, I'm like, well, we'll see.
At the end of the day, DRX still big favorites. Like, T1 do have ways to beat them. I just don't think it's going to look anything like the series we saw today. So, yeah, would still favor DRX pretty heavily in that matchup.
Yeah.
But we'll just have to wait and see. And that will come on Monday, so in 6 days from today.
Yep. Then KT will play against now D+ on Tuesday. So our schedules are just going to continue to be the same, 5 p.m. on both Mondays and Tuesdays, so no earlier days for the rest of playoffs. I say that, yeah, for the rest of playoffs. Just making sure. Yep.
And that finals is, we're going to have loser final and then final for CL on Thursday and Friday before the LCK finals on Saturday and Sunday. So it's going to be kind of weird to watch Challenger League finals, both of them, like loser final and final on Thursdays and Fridays, but make sure you guys get your schedules correct so you don't miss it.
Yeah, you can just go on Leaguepedia. It's probably the easiest place where you get all of the information.
All right, Wolf, we are done. Hope you guys did enjoy this one, even though it was only a 3-0. I was hoping for some more games and some more even action, but didn't really get it. So
Not this time.
With the big win tonight, and we'll just have to wait until next week to see how they do against DRX. But until then, have a good week. We will see you tomorrow, though, for the LCK. Do not forget it. Good night.